Think we're rolling. We're on another episode of the Rich Sony podcast. Hello, everyone. We have Roe O'Brien back again. Roe knows best today, right? Last time, was Weekend at Mauchie's a Roe Knows Best release, or was that?
It was like a collaborative release. I think both Max and I put our names on it. So it was kind of like, I guess technically, like if you go to my streaming platforms on Spotify or Apple Music, that comes up.
Cool. Yeah. I forgot if you made another artist for that or not, but yeah.
No, I think we just put both of our names on it. So it was me and Max's, I guess, solo project called Mauchie. We put that on there.
Yep, and that we spoke about that. Max was on here with Roe a couple episodes ago, so if you want to listen to that, feel free after this episode to go back to that, or you can go to the previous episode where Roe and I talked about Capture the Flag.
That's right.
That was last year, maybe.
Maybe. What is time?
What is time? Yeah, but now we're here today to talk about something equally as exciting as those other two, which is your upcoming album, your first full length, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what is now arriving at Secaucus.
Yeah, now arriving at Secaucus Junction.
Yeah. And you sent it to me just as before with the your wonderful EPKs.
Oh, thank you.
And I gave it a great listen, and we're going to talk about it today. But before that, just how are you doing in general? I jumped the gun there a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm doing good. Just, super busy, just with, the release we talked about with Max, Weekend at Mauchie's Volume 1 came out this summer. And then, and then now arriving at Secaucus Junction, coming out on this Friday at the time of this recording, November 7th. So probably it'll be out by the time this podcast episode is out. Those have just been taking up a lot of time, with, doing press and promo and, approving mixes and masters and all of that and artwork and, all the stuff that goes into a DIY release, but doing well otherwise. Other little Roe Knows Best highlights from this year. I put together a full band for live performances. So there have been some Roe Knows Best full band gigs that have been happening throughout the year. One of the highest notes of the full band performing experience this year for 2025 is we played Maplewood Stock in Maplewood, New Jersey, which is a really big festival that Maplewood puts on every year, and had a great time. And that was literally a big stage for us. Meant a lot to us that we were able to play that. Little full band gigs throughout the year and juggling these releases. It's been a busy year for Roe Knows Best.
Great, that's great though. You got to watch the burnout for sure. That creeps in, but
for sure.
Besides that, that's exciting.
Yeah.
How'd you put the band together? Who did you put in it?
So my friend Mike Farrell, who I met at an open mic at Silverstream Studio in Montclair, New Jersey. We ran into each other at open mics and what have you. And I think I had played a show, might have been last year, and Mike came to it. I played a solo show, and Mike had just kind of said in passing, hey, listen, if you ever put a full band together, let me know. I'd love to play guitar for you. And I was kind of cool, noted. And then it didn't happen that year, but I think coming into 2025, I was just thinking about goals, I guess, I had for myself. And I was wonder if Mike still meant that. And so I hit him up, and I was hey, would you still be down to do this? And he said yes. And I was oh, cool. I was awesome. And after that, I put out kind of an open call on my Instagram, honestly. And I was do I have any friends who might want to play bass or drums? And friend of mine from who I met at Montclair State when I went to school at Montclair State, my friend Paul Calabrese, he was I'd love to play bass. And I was amazing. You're hired.
Nice.
And then I was still looking for a drummer, and I was talking to the man who owns Silverstream Studio Montclair, is a guy named Tim, really great guy. puts on shows, again, very like friendly guy, down to earth, loved him forever. But I was talking to Tim about it, and Tim was like, the guy who drums for Bobby Kerner in Wizard Brain, who's a Wizard Brain for the listener, another great, Jersey band / artist. Bobby Kerner is like the brainchild of that. Wizard Brainchild. Very funny. As I'm telling jokes, to humor myself. Tim was like, the drummer for Wizard Brain, I think had said in passing to him that like, he was like looking to play new gigs. And so got acquainted with that guy. And that guy is Ben Delloiacono. He drums for Wizard Brain. I had seen him at the Meat Locker, and he was really good. And I hit him up, and I was like, "Hey, like, Tim from Silverstream, like, told me like you'd be down to play more gigs. Like, would you be down?" And so and that's kind of like how it was born. Just like thankfully everyone said yes. Sweet. And we've been rehearsing in Mike's basement, mostly in West Orange, and we've kind of just been doing that throughout the year, and God bless those guys, man. I mean, they've been learning all of the Roe Knows best songs, essentially, especially these newer ones that are on this new record, because we started playing shows and we were trying to trickle in the newer songs, and that's kind of how that came to be.
That's awesome. How does it feel?
It feels good. I mean, like, it's amazing. I joke sometimes during practice, especially like when we started kind of putting these songs together, because the songs on the record were put together like in the studio with myself and Doug Gallo, who mixed and mastered the Weekend at Mauchie's project. But it was really just Doug and I in the studio there, with Doug doing a lot of heavy lifting, I think, with like drums and bass. The songs were already like written by me, but when you're in the studio, you start kind of talking about like arrangements and, dynamics and energy and all of that stuff. So, that was kind of just like a working relationship with me and Doug, trying to figure out how the songs would go. But then to have them be played in front of you or, with you as a full band arrangement, it's sometimes jarring. Like, I sometimes like get distracted because it sounds so good and cool.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. And Mike, I have to say too, Mike has been really great. I think too, at just like, figuring out these guitar parts or expanding on guitar parts and adding a lot of, he's to me, he's like a pedal wizard, pedal genius. Like, I sometimes will get distracted because the sounds he's coming up with are so cool. Just like I like lose my train of thought. But it's been really exciting. Equally also exhausting, just to be, I think, like an adult, with, a full-time job, also doing band stuff and also writing songs. Lot going on. Again, very busy year for Roe Knows best, but ultimately, it's been really satisfying and rewarding and exciting. And I'm really excited for us to continue. I think in 2026, we don't really have that much booked for the rest of 2025. But I'm really proud of all that we accomplished this year. And I think ultimately, I've probably played more gigs this year, like consistently, I feel like, than I have maybe in my whole life. There was just like a lot of gigging opportunity that, even when like if the full band wasn't like available to play, Mike and I played a couple gigs as like a duo, which was also really cool. Just to kind of, get some more instrumentation and accompaniment in the mix, for these Roe Knows best songs.
Sweet. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's a huge unlock for a songwriter to get a full band because of gigs too, like amongst everything else that you mentioned, because you can play just so many more, like such a wider variety of things.
It's true. And I think there was kind of like, they say, like, necessity is like the mother of invention. Like, that guy, Tim, I talked about, who owns Silverstream Studio. I think he was the one, like, not that he was pushing me, but he was telling me like he wanted to book me for stuff. And he would say like, listen, like, I might be able to book you here as a solo artist, but like this bill, like I need a band. And I understood that like immediately. I'm like, I can't dashboard confessional everything, right? Like I can't always be the acoustic person at the hardcore gig. I have been, and that's cool and that's fine. But I also understand like they need we need like a full band bill. And I felt like that just kind of gave me some motivation going like, I could be getting like more performance opportunities if I have a band. And I just feel, again, like really thankful that all these guys said yes and learned the songs and were down to play it. And I also think, too, it's been informative because these songs, and I say this to the guys like a million times, but like the songs, all the songs I think I've written thus far, they were not, I never thought I would be playing them with a full band, really. I mean, they were mostly composed acoustically by myself in my bedroom. And I never thought I never dreamt that I would be like, going through these songs with a band and trying to teach them how to play and what cues to look for and things like that. And I feel like it's been informative because now I think when I want to write in the future, now that I've kind of had this band experience, which, by the way, I really had not had since like I was a freshman in high school and like I was in a band, because I've just been kind of playing solo that whole time. But now when I write, I'd like to imagine when I write in the future, I am going to be kind of thinking about these things. And I think I'd like to imagine it's going to like inform my future songwriting, because I would like to keep the full band thing going. And I would like to continue to work with these guys or other folks. And, I don't know, just having that in mind, to like be in the chair, if you will, and like having to direct or guide or inform people like, oh, well, this is what I'm thinking here. Or like I cut off 2 measures here. And I think like ultimately it becomes a communication game because I think also too, like I love, as a songwriter, I love knowing the rules and then I love breaking them, so sometimes like I play with form a little bit. I don't know, like I feel like sometimes like I do weird stuff that like perhaps the listener might not initially know, but like then you're like a third party trying to learn what the hell Roe did and you're like, this is weird. And I'm like, yes, I'm sorry. This made sense to me, at the time I was writing it by myself. But yeah, it's been a really cool experience.
Cool. Yeah. What you were saying at the end resonates with me. I've been doing a lot more just jamming lately. And when we're like playing a song, I notice that when I'm playing solo, there's a lot of sleight of hand that I do to like get through the song.
Sure.
Like if I make a mistake or something like that you just can't always get away with a band.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, how many times are we going to repeat before we start the verse? And I'm just like,
right.
I don't know. Like it's as many as we need to or whatever.
For sure. I was also going to say too, I think like the act, this is not gonna sound like rocket science, but the act of listening too, like when you're playing with other people, and I'm like a choir kid, like choir is like a huge part of my background. Like I was in choir from like 7th through 12th grade. And even when I went to Ramapo College, I was, and I did Ramapo chorale for like, I feel like a couple of semesters too. So like really locked in choir kid. And especially when I was in a cappella style groups, one of the things like, our music director would always remind us, it was like, you have to listen to each other. And sometimes that pertained to volume, like in dynamics. Sometimes that pertained to vowel shape, things of that nature. And I think like that also pertains to the band. And again, like not rocket science, but then it's like, if we're more in tune and paying attention to like what we're doing as a unit, we'll probably lock better. And if we're listening to each other, we're, I don't know, like sometimes there are cues built in to like going to the next section and things of that nature. And I've had to, like remind myself, I think like to do that, because when you play solo for so long, you're just listening to yourself and like the main focus becomes like, remember the chords, sing the right notes, like, be engaging, and that's all you have to think about. But then when like a band's involved, and then also too, it becomes like, okay, don't get too distracted and carried away by Mike's cool guitar sounds. Right. But that's like an ADHD hurdle, I think. But yeah, so there's that as well. Listening is like a big, component.
Yeah. That's a huge thing when you're playing with a band. I don't know who told me that, but I've thought that for a while, and it is frustrating sometimes when you notice someone isn't listening to you too, because you're like, you gotta listen.
Yeah, and it's tough because it's one of those things too where it's like it doesn't feel like it should be said, but then I think when you say it and then you try to implement it and follow through, you just operate like a little differently.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like even with parts of a song. I don't know if you did this with the Roe Knows best parts, but I've had a lot of value in jamming on things lately and just being like, let's just like jam on the intro.
Yeah.
Like until it feels good. Like we don't have to know how many times we're going to play it. We don't just like, we're going to play it until it feels good. And then we'll just step to the next.
Yeah.
You can't do that when you're playing live really, but when you're like learning it or like we'll loop the verse a few times. You know,
and we've done that too in practice. You know, if one of us, you know, felt like we needed like review on like a certain part or a transition or an entrance, and I love doing that. I don't get upset doing that at all, and I will literally sing the same thing over and over and over if it means that like we're you know laying in the groundwork of getting the groove together. You know. I'm like a workhorse. Like if we need to repeat it like 30 times so that like we can all get it, if that's like what's needed in that moment, I don't mind doing that at all, you know? Cause I think
it's that on your own. Like how do you memorize your lyrics for a song?
Great question. Well, I think part of it is like, and I think I've said this to you before, like I've always viewed music as like, it's a conversation. So to me, it's just like, oh, it's just this conversation I'm having. So it becomes kind of like second nature for me to, you know, say these things. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if I've ever like looped things to sometimes maybe if I'm trying to like get something, I feel like maybe I'm prone to do that if like I'm trying to like perfect wording of lyrics. That's like something I'm kind of like meticulous about. I feel like, I think I've also mentioned this to you before. I feel like Rivers Cuomo is really good at that from Weezer. I feel like Rivers is such an interesting lyricist to me because he literally, and he could say anything. The sentence could not make sense really. And you're like, what is he talking about? But it almost doesn't matter because whatever vowels or words he's saying, I just feel like I'm like, dang, I'm still emotionally affected by it, even if I don't know the literal meaning of it. And I'm fascinated by that. I'm like, there's like some,
I don't think maybe you did mention that to me on the first conversation we had.
Yeah.
Because we definitely talked about him, but that didn't sink in. But that's so true. He's
like
really
he's got like some weird song, and it's like, and even some of the popular ones are like that, sure, but like also like some of the weird ones, like I'm actually gonna look it up real quick, but Weezer has a song called "Grapes of Wrath."
Oh, really? I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, it was on an album that I don't think was as super popular. The chorus is, I'm gonna rock my Audible headphone grapes of wrath, drift off to oblivion, I just don't care. But what's so funny about that is like, is he talking about he's gonna go on Audible and listen to Grapes of Wrath? Like that's what it's, I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
But like what a weird thing, respectfully, like what a weird thing to sing about. Like, and also like, hell yeah, who's singing about that? Who's singing about listening to Grapes of Wrath on Audible? Yeah. But it's also too the way he phrases it, I'm gonna rock my Audible. So it's like Audible, like, you know, audiobook, and it's also like Audible, like football. Like you're going to rock an Audible. Like I'm going to spend my night differently. I'm going to call an Audible. And like, I'm going to listen to Grapes of like, it's just, it's like a double meaning. It's something weird. Who's singing about this? Like, it's so bizarre. And I feel like I listened a while ago to like a Song Exploder, with Weezer, with Rivers talking about, and he like, I think he said this, or someone said, he's basically got like a huge Excel spreadsheet. I hope I'm getting this right. Of just like weird words and like phrases. And then he'll like go and reference this. And that's like kind of how we build songs. That's like a whole other conversation, but suffice it to say, I will loop stuff to go back to your initial question. I do loop stuff if I'm trying to get wording right. There was another part of that question too that you had asked me that I'm afraid I've lost the thread of.
How do you memorize songs?
Oh, how do I memorize songs? I think, it's like it's part of a conversation. And I think people have been very kind in complimenting me regarding my melodic sensibilities. I think Max Rauch did during the weekend at Mauchie's sessions call me like a melody machine, which I took as like the absolute highest compliment. But I gravitate towards melody, and I think the melody helps me memorize because it's like if I hear something a certain way, I don't know. I was actually going through some voice notes today, and I have like a huge folder structure of like literally like voice notes that I've kept since like 2010, 2011, right? And I'm still adding to it. And I basically have like this arsenal of like anything from like I had a dream and woke up with a melody and I'm whistling it into my phone to like, you know, more expansive songs. There's a ton of crazy stuff on there. But no, I was going through stuff today, and it's amazing how many times little melodic phrases will pop up in my head. I will record them, but when I hear those melodic phrases, I feel like I already gravitate towards like a cadence. So it's like I'm already hearing it, even if I don't know what the words are, I'm already hearing it a certain way. And that just informs the melody, informs the cadence, informs the lyrics, informs whatever story I'm trying to tell. And if music is a conversation, then I'm just relaying this conversation by the time the song is all said and done. And as we're doing right now, I'm just talking right in this moment. And if I can just like talk, then I can sing about this thing, you know, over and over. And I think being gravitating towards melody as I do, it really does tickle my brain. I find it really fascinating to like, I don't know, to just come up with something. And a lot of times too, it's like, I don't try. And I think like I don't try. I'm not like at a keyboard or whatever, like trying to figure out melody. I feel like I just sing weird stuff all the time. And I think subconsciously, I'm really also fascinated by, like the way we as human beings, I think we talked about this too, maybe at a certain juncture, the way we as human beings just like pitch our voice when we're just talking, like how our voice kind of goes up and down, you know, when we're upset, you know, pitch gets raised, you know, maybe when we're depressed and down and out, it goes lower. There is like a melodic line through conversation. And I'm not like constantly thinking about it like all the time, but it's something like I definitely like notice and observe, and I think that informs melody in a way, especially if I'm conveying a certain emotion, or if I feel a certain way, I feel like the melody is going to come out a certain way, and I think all of that in like that songwriting stew that happens, I think it's like, yeah, and then things get memorized. That's not also to say that I don't forget stuff too, you know, like in the moment if I'm like, you know, performing live and what have you. But yeah, I don't know. I think all of that like plays some sort of weird role.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I did notice that on Now Arriving at Secaucus Junction, at least one time on Suffocate, I think it's on Suffocate that I noticed that you change the melody actually in between the verses slightly, so that might even help too, and that's some high level shit.
And that's something too that happens with lyric changes too, because sometimes I'm like, well, I just want to say more in this verse, like I don't want to be like strapped down, and so then like I'll still keep the format the same, you know, and like the measures are the same. I think where I do that, I know I do this here on Secaucus Junction, from the first verse to the second verse, I say a lot more words in the second verse. The whole thing with like, and as I toe my sneaker on the yellow edge of the platform, feel the cold air fully numb my face. But it was because I wanted to be more expansive. I had more of the story to tell. And I had to make it fit, you know?
Right. But that will also help you memorize, especially if your brain is trained for the melody, right? And
again, that's that thing too, and maybe this is like an ADHD thing, excuse me, but yeah, it's just like to remember it, you know, it's like it's just gonna help me remember you know, the words, I think too, and I know what I wanted to say. I trailed off for a minute, but now I got what I was going to say. But like, I like breaking form. I like breaking form and convention. I like being like serving the audience, you know, silver platter, like this is the melody, and it'd be like, and look what else. Like, I think that's just kind of comes from maybe artists that I've been interested in. Like an artist that comes to mind a band group project called Into It Over It, fronted by a man named Evan Weiss, who is originally from New Jersey. But when I first started seeing him live, which was definitely over 10 years ago, I feel like I first saw him in 2010, 2011, 2012, around there. But every time I saw him, he was such a captivating storyteller. I can't say for certain whether or not he was using the devices that like we're talking about now, like changing melodies. I would have to kind of do like a deeper dive, I think, on his work. But Evan really got me from Into It Over really got me thinking about like how do you keep your audience engaged? And I think at that time in my songwriting, I was like really fascinated by that, because at that time, this is like, let's just say circa 2010, I was playing a lot of open mics. And there was one I would hit quite frequently at a bar in Kenilworth, New Jersey, called 10th Street Live, which is no longer there. But I would go to that one a lot. And like Monday nights, they would have an open mic, and I would go with a friend of mine, and, you know, we'd sit and we'd drink, you know, house whiskey and, you know, Want to Die, and like, you know, waiting for our time slot. And it would get like so late, and it was like, again, Monday night, and just like lot was learned there. But I think I would watch these other artists who came on before me, and I would ultimately find myself incredibly bored by them. And then that started to ask, am I boring to other people, right? Because then you're like, well, this person's terrible. Oh my God, am I also terrible? Because you have a lot of time to think about that.
Right.
Ruminate on that.
I've done a similar thing before. I never really realized that, but I've
yeah. And I think I was like, well, if I think this person sucks and I'm not sure where I stand, you know, what are things I can do to at least make myself more engaging to myself, so that when I look at my own stuff, I'd be like, well, I am changing things up. Well, I am trying to give you a reason to pay attention. And that was another thing too. That was like another hard lesson learned, I think, from doing those open mics, you know, at that particular bar. I mean, I did others too, but that one is one I feel like I went with like some frequency, and sometimes at the end of it, I'm like, why did I even come here? You know, like a lot of that's kind of soul searching, but yeah, like, I think I was asking myself, you know, how can I be more engaging? How can I be a better storyteller? And at the end of the day, it's like, I at least want to walk away and be like, well, I think I did something cool and different there. And I at least want, I think I'd like just be proud or pleased with what I've, you know, put down. I think, it was just like, that too is, I think, like incredibly informative, because at the end of the day, and it's helpful for myself because I then, you know, pay attention, perhaps I'm more in the moment, you know, remember my stuff when I'm like performing and singing. But I think, it's like, I do want to connect with other people. But I think at that bar at 10th Street Live, like it felt like a war. And at the time, I have to look it up, but I like wrote a song about it too, how frustrated I was. Actually, that song actually might still be on my Bandcamp. I have to look at that in a second, but I wrote a song about it, basically being like frustrated that I couldn't get the audience's attention. And that's still a thing, right? And I think also too, like, as a woman in her 30s compared to like a woman in her early 20s, fighting and grappling with that, you know, it's definitely sits differently. I think like now I'm just like, listen, like if I'm up there and, you know, you're on your phone and I can't hold your attention, it is what it is. I feel like I'm not going to get so upset about that anymore. Maybe even, you know, as a side note, being like, man, maybe I need to be more engaging or whatever, right? But like, at that time doing these open mics at 10th Street Live, I was like, I couldn't believe it sometimes, because that's the thing too about open mics, right? Like you're cutting your teeth and you're what do you call that? You're paying your dues. Like you wait like at least sometimes 2 hours. And it's like a mixture of like bad comedians and people who were performing who I was incredibly bored with. And you're just like waiting for your slot. And then, you know, you get up there and you're watching a bar full of people talking and on their phone. And it's like you waited all that time. And it was at the time it was incredibly frustrating. So I used to say, again, more to like the lore and songwriting stew of Roe, I think of just like how do I make my stuff more engaging, and how do I connect with people when there's so many reasons to opt out. And I think too, to reflect as me as a audience member, concert goer as well, you know, like I too, and sometimes it's hard. I try not to be on my phone if I'm, watching someone performing, especially at like a local show or something like that. I definitely try not to do it at like a paid ticketed event, like if I'm seeing like a top tier artist. And that's like a big pet peeve of mine too, because not everybody stays off their phone when you go to like a big paid ticketed event.
What about recording at those? Do you try not to do that?
Yeah,
I feel
like
to take too many videos.
I agree. First of all, I feel like there's still a part of me in my head when I go to stuff like that, and I'm like, am I really watching this? Like, why are we taking the video? Like,
that's
okay,
my thing. Yeah.
We're taking the video because I want to share it to Instagram. Okay, cool. So I could like tell my friends that I was here. Cool. But it's like, not everybody needs to know that I was here. Like, I feel like I'm very much like I have a pretty self-reflective gaze on my social media usage. At least I try to. And I think a lot of it is absolutely performative. There's no reason why anybody needs to know that I was at X show. And again, local shows are different. I think I will like record stuff because I like, if I'm seeing other bands and local artists, I will take little snippets of video and tag them. And because it's content, right? It's a little different. But yeah, it's like, I think there's a performative element to, again, this is like if you're going to like a big name venue to see big name artist or whatever. But I think too, and it's like, I'm very conscious of like, there's people behind me. My phone is bright. How long is this going to stay out? And I think it's like, man, if, the artist really wanted to be recorded too, leave that to somebody else who's like a professional videographer, and then everybody can enjoy it, right? I don't know. It's tough. I always feel like a little guilty doing that, but depending where I'm at, I think, and where, who I'm seeing and everything, like I'll try to take a little snippet, like for me. Yes, it's nice to look back on, but I also feel like there's something being lost of being present and in the moment with things, especially like live performance. And it's like, there was a point in time where like, we would just go to the show and watch it.
I know. Yeah.
And I think it was better too, because it's like, I think it was better too, in terms of like, I think everyone was present and focused on experiencing this collective thing together. And I think there was really something special about that. And it's impossible now to.
It's a huge distraction. I try not to, I still do it every show.
Yeah.
And I post it because, honestly, because I don't post that much stuff.
Sure.
I'm pretty private, but I'm like, I'll tell people that I went to a concert.
Sure. And I do the same thing too. I'm not trying to also
no,
shit on anyone.
I know you're not. We all do it.
Including yourself.
But it's like, I notice myself when I'm there, and I'll start to get frustrated at other people, not because they're distracting me, but I'm just like, yo, you've been recording this whole concert. You paid all this money to come here. Don't look at your phone.
I'll tell a story, and hopefully we won't get too off track.
It's okay.
The podcast
I'm
just
grabbing
because
a drink real
this.
quick, though.
No, that's all good. It's all good. Go for it.
Anywhere.
No, it's all good. So this was actually last year. So I grew up, my mom, parents, right? You grew up listening to certain artists because of your parents. The Gypsy Kings were one of those artists for me. My mom always had the Gypsy Kings on.
I don't know them.
Oh, they're great. They're I think they're like Portuguese and French speaking music, but they're like a really big act. Like, and I think by and large in like Spanish speaking communities. But my mom also too, like for, I guess, context, my mom is Sicilian. She was born in Australia, but is Sicilian, and, grew up speaking Sicilian dialect and Italian. And then she ended up also, double majoring in college in Spanish and broadcasting, but in Spanish. So she's very fluent in Spanish. And I actually have to ask her what her initiation was for the Gypsy Kings, but very, very usual. Also, too, coming from a family of Italian immigrants, when they came over here, there were only a couple channels, but one of the channels that the Italian community really gravitated towards was Univision and Telemundo, because it was the closest thing to Italian at that time. And so even in my own childhood, being watched by my nonna, by my Italian grandmother, very usual to have her watching, Univision, Noticias,
I never thought of that.
Like the news. Yeah. And like in the telenovelas, and like this was her content because she could understand it, I think, better than English. Right.
Of course.
So Spanish and the Italian community, very, very intertwined, even though I am not of Spanish descent. And even though I did not come from a Spanish speaking household, but Gypsy Kings, very huge in my house. So, I saw they were going on tour, and I said, Mom, would you like to go see the Gypsy Kings? Like maybe let's go get tickets. Like we've never seen them, And so she was into it. And so we ended up, bringing my dad too. So we went to the Wellmont in Montclair, New Jersey to see the Gypsy Kings. And, we had decent seats. And, cause I also too, my parents are older, and I was trying to let's not climb any stairs, and let's make sure you can see. Right. And we probably spent, it was like $100 a ticket thereabouts on these seats. There was a man about a few seats down to me. It was probably a seat or two away from where my dad was sitting. So it's kind of next to our area. He had a cell phone out the whole time. He recorded it literally the entire set. And this is probably maybe back row orchestra. Mm-hmm. But it was so distracting, and I think he had a power brick hooked up. He might have even had a tripod. It was just so crazy, and it was just dude, I have to deal with this in my periphery the whole show. And it's he had it out the whole show. I don't know if he was live streaming to people who couldn't be there, but I think there's also a degree of either you're there or you're not. You're not. You don't have professional, and I'm honestly surprised nobody came up to him, right?
True. Yeah.
So that happened at that event, and I was shocked. And something similar happened too. Again, me trying to be a good daughter, and Heart, the band Heart, went on tour. Mm-hmm. This was earlier this year, I think. And hey, folks, you want to see Heart? You guys never saw Heart? The Wilson sisters, they're getting older. Maybe we should go see Heart. We went to Radio City Music Hall to go see Heart, and some woman in the row in front of us, but kind of in front and to the left, she was live streaming the whole thing. And I think there was a man sitting near her that I think had to tell her to stop. I was about to tell her to stop because, again, it's so distracting, right? You're in a dark environment and you just have this phone, and it was just from the back row, especially if Radio City, how good is the quality of this footage? Who's watching this?
Yeah.
So it
exactly.
blows my mind.
Are you going to watch it?
And that's the thing too. And it's you pay, I pay money to this stuff, right? As a concert goer, and it's I want to experience the thing. I don't want to watch the show through your phone.
No, you don't.
It's a whole thing. And I have gone into it with folks.
I try to stop myself from doing it too, because
also
you see these people.
To be clear, I'm sure you're not taking a video of the entire set.
No. But I see that going on, and I'll take my little video and I'm put it away. Are you even going to watch this?
The way I see it, it's for me, the way I view it, it's it's an exercise in being present. It's an exercise in can I not look at this for 2 seconds and just pay attention to the cool stuff going on in front of me, right? But yeah, it's I think we got here in a really crazy way. To this point of the conversation. But I think in terms of fighting for, audiences to pay attention, and trying to be engaging enough where you can have them put down the phone, or maybe have them take the phone out because something really cool is going on. And then that can generate content. It's an ongoing, I think, debate. And it's really tough. And I think I haven't been to a show like this, but I'm sure you've heard too. There are shows where the venue will, there's bags or something that they put phones in.
Yeah, I've had to do that.
Oh wow, I've never done that.
I can't remember. Oh, I did it at Bob Dylan. When I went to see Bob Dylan at the NJ Pack.
How was that experience putting that away? And
it was not a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm already pretty well trained at that, and I've seen Bob Dylan a lot. He's my favorite artist.
Sure.
So it was honestly, it was mostly a problem for me because I was worried that my wife might call for because I didn't know. So I was they just made you put it in real quick, and I was I should have texted her.
Right. I hear that too. And that's interesting too, right? I think the way our culture is, it's we're worried about an emergency situation or like wanting to check in with a loved one, because I think that's because we have the technology. That's how we operate by and large. But yeah, I think I've never had to do it, but like, yeah, I think even though I'd want to do that, I think there's also a part of me that's like, oh my God, like what if like something happens? Like,
that's the only reason. Like I didn't feel compelled
100%.
to record it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have taken like two or three
a little snippet.
Snippets, but I'm pretty good. I don't get too good. I'm not good at the local shows with taking the video. It's the opposite for me, where I'm like paying attention and then I'm like, oh,
sometimes too, like I feel guilty, or like I probably like could be getting closer, but almost like I think I'm also like, I don't know how like said artist would react, like whether I know them or not, I guess. Like I don't want to get like, and then I think there's also a part of me that's like, man, I don't want to like freak them out, you know?
Right. I also don't take enough, like, I feel like I have a few friends that are good at this, but they do it all the time, and I don't do this, but I don't get enough, like, with my arm around people I see, like, hey, I'm here. Like, I feel like that's good for a local show, and I just don't do that in regular life, so I just don't think to do it.
I will say, too, for all listeners, y'all can always feel free to take videos of me when I'm performing live and stuff and tag me, and I think it sounds unpunk. But like, I appreciate the engagement and the content, and like I love to share that stuff, right? And I think that stuff's good. I think ultimately it comes down to like not necessarily local shows for me, but like big name acts. If the phone is out like the whole time, it's like, what are you doing? Even if you are taking like videos or pictures, it's like there has to be a degree where you like, I think you need to disengage and just like watch the damn show. But I also think too, it's like, there's people too who like don't do that at all. They're just on their phone. And
that's what you were talking about. Like at the bar, they're not even listening to the open mic night. I mean, I played at I used to play at a bar, open mic night a lot, and I played like a new song one time, and I had like my eyes closed or whatever, and I was like, oh, I'm playing it really good.
Right.
And I finish, and everyone starts cheering. Like loud, and I was like, "Oh shit, yeah!" And I opened my eyes up, and they all were watching some football game.
Stop.
I was like, the host knew. She was like laughing or whatever, and it wasn't my first open mic night. It was years in.
But this is also a thing too, like
bastards.
Listen, I think also too, it's like understanding too the arena you're in, right? And it's the same thing for me as well. It's like, okay, well, this is a bar. Some people just come here to drink. They wanted nothing to do with this open mic night. And that's their right. You know, that's their right.
And they're listening, they're watching the football game. It's,
Or like I've gone to places too where it's like I'm going out to dinner, or maybe like I go to a bar and I'm like, oh God, there's somebody playing guitar. Like it's just at that moment, it's like it's something like I don't want to engage with, compete with. I just want to focus on, being with my friend or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely ongoing conversation about, I guess, like concert etiquette. But ultimately all coming back around to, I think what we were originally talking about, how like I memorize my songs, I think trying to make things more memorable, ultimately, not just for myself, but for the listener, or audience member. And listen, I think, and again, sitting here as a woman in her 30s, sometimes you can break through and sometimes you can't. And ultimately it's like, listen, it is what it is. I don't get, when I was, young and younger and in my 20s, I'd get like upset. Like I was really upset. And again, I alluded, I had written some sort of old song. I'm gonna see if I can find that cause I know it's on my Bandcamp, somewhere here. God, this is like from so long ago.
While you're looking, I mean, I would get upset.
I know exactly where it is.
And at a certain point, I didn't get upset anymore, and I started just taking note when like serendipity would make people pay attention. And then you're like, oh, what happened there?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just if any listener feels the need to do this, I have like I guess it's like an EP. It's like 5 songs. It's on my Bandcamp, roeknowsbest.bandcamp.com. I have up this thing called unreleased demos, which when did I uploaded this Oh wow, almost I guess almost 9 years ago. I uploaded this November 15th of 2016. But these were like demos. These were like songs I was kicking around circa 2016 or maybe before, but I had recorded them and they were just demos. Like I wrote them and I, did put like, MIDI drums to them and I like demoed them in my bedroom basically. And I did actually at the time for this unreleased demos, these collections of 5 songs, I wanted to go into the studio with, music folks I was closer to at that time and really flesh them out. That ended up not happening. So I just kind of like put them up on this Bandcamp. But the song I'm referencing, it's called TV Pilots.
Okay.
And, lyrically, this is what I was talking about. I was talking about like the 10th Street Live or like open mic situations where I felt like I was just like being ignored and I was really upset about it. And I think at the root, why did I become so upset at that? Well, I think I was becoming upset at that because I think there was like, it was frustrating to wait and then feel like there was like minimal emotional, I guess, payoff or, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I don't want to say resolution, but like, it's a word that's not coming to mind right now. Satisfaction or, validation.
Validation.
There was like minimal validation happening. And then I think it was a question of like, I think wanting to connect with people. I think like ultimately for any artist, what do you want to do? Like you want to connect with people. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, you need everybody in the room to be singing your words back at you, although that can be cool. But I think ultimately it's like, when you're a songwriter and I think you're sharing stuff in a public space, you've ultimately made the decision, like, I think that these songs are good enough that I want to show them. And that itself is like an act of courage, especially too for a younger songwriter, someone in their 20s or whatever, however along the line you are of I guess, like performing live solo in front of people, right? It takes a big act of courage to do that. And so when we don't get that validation, it can sometimes feel really like untethering. But I think ultimately, I think it always goes down that way. I mean, some of the biggest bands and biggest artists that, I'm sure we're all fans of here, listeners included, it's like, this is how you cut your teeth. It is playing to nobody. It is playing to people who don't pay attention. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not good. It just means that you just didn't, break through and you got to figure out a way to do it different for next time. And sometimes the way of doing that next time is to find a different arena.
True. That's true. Too,
I mean, that could be it too. And it's like, like I didn't break, like, you know what I mean? Like I never played like a show at 10th Street Live. I never, you know what I mean? Like, 10th Street Live is no longer there too. Like I've outlived 10th Street Live. Isn't that interesting? Like whatever. But like, I think, it was definitely a point of, I guess like contention and like existentialism or whatever for me, trying to figure out, how to connect with folks. And I think getting upset that I couldn't crack it and I couldn't maybe like do or say or sing something, I don't want to say good enough, but like anything enough to warrant someone's attention. But I think at the end of the day, as I've grown older, it's like, that's like the name of the game. Like you're going to grab someone and you're not. And I think the only thing you can do is continue on a path of authenticity. So like continue on a path of continuing to hone your art, figure out who you are, effectively communicate that to yourself and others. And I think like just continue meeting people. And I think like, I'm even though like I had those moments of frustration, I still believe that like all of this stuff, like artistry, connecting with others, it needs to happen organically. You can't force it. It doesn't work that way. So it's like either we connect and it's cool, or we don't connect and I like my songs and I continue to live my life. And I think it's better when we connect, as people, as human beings, as artist and audience. But if it doesn't happen too, it just doesn't happen. And sometimes it can mean you're ahead of your time. Sometimes it can mean the venue's wrong. Like for you, it could just mean that the right person didn't hear it yet. But yeah, it doesn't.
But that's also what I meant too by the band thing,
right.
To close the whole,
the whole loop.
Yeah, because no, but that's the perfect spot too
Yeah.
with it, because like in those bar situations as well, like I had thought about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm playing here, my songs were hitting with some certain people,
Sure.
but you're never going to capture the whole bar, especially not without a band, because I'd go back
Right.
to that bar and there'd be
Yeah.
like a classic rock covers band and
Oh,
everybody's listening.
totally
And I'm
different.
like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And
But
I
with
think
a band, you might be able to.
that's a
conquer
very
one of
fair
those
point
venues.
too. And maybe it's just like people respond to volume.
It's the energy.
Energy.
The
Yeah.
volume and the energy. There's more
100%.
going on. There's more to listen to and to captivate you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think also too, competing with the volume of the area to where it's like, maybe you can't talk to your guy at the bar stool next to you or whatever. And like, then your attention does get focused because it's like, well, this is the loudest thing in the room right now. I'm going to listen to it.
And there's alcohol involved.
100%.
You know, like that changes the whole thing.
It does. It does. But ultimately, look, I think at the end of all that and everything we talked about, I think with those experiences, grateful for those experiences too, in a way, because it gets you to think about these questions that, I've been ruminating on, just like, like how do I make myself more engaging, and, create something that I'm tickled by and like want to pay attention to and I'm interested in. And then hopefully that can also, gravitate to somebody else as well.
Yeah, it's all growth, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just, even though, like, and this isn't like, this tangent was super worthwhile, and I haven't talked about this specific all of that
Right.
before, but to any listener that is up and coming, or not, that, like if you are playing those things, like I think it's super valuable, because even if it feels like it's a waste of your time, there's something happening there. You're noticing something, and you're going to learn something from it.
Exactly. It's absolutely a learning experience. And I think it's eye-opening. It's a bit of a cold shower, and it's kind of like, oh, okay. Like it's humbling, but I think in like a positive way, where it's like to get used with that feeling of being like, you know what? Yeah, I guess I'm not the most important thing in the room right now. Or it reminds you that performing, and I think being an artist and a songwriter, it's a lot harder than it looks. But I think if you can prove it to yourself, if you can get through your set, or you can get through your time in that open mic environment and have nobody listen to you, it's a test. I mean, it's a test of endurance. I think like mentally, of being like, yeah, I can get through this moment. And I can get through this moment, and I'll be back again next week,
Right.
And not to say that we should be gluttons for punishment, or like, sadistic or something, or whatever, or masochistic. I forget which one means which, but ultimately it's like, it builds character, and it might suck in the moment, but I know definitely for a fact, when I started playing live, I was like super jittery. Like I would shake. I would get the shakes like really bad. I forget who I was telling this to, somewhere on Facebook. This was when I was still in college at Ramapo, but I got booked at some sort of holiday. It was like a holiday like review or something. There was something at Willowbrook Mall in Wayne, New Jersey, where they had like a holiday performance, and somehow I got signed up for it outside of like Macy's or something. And there was like a stage, and like, again, it was me playing solo on my guitar. And that's probably the biggest space I had played at that time, like the mall. And oh my God, I was like shaking like a leaf. But I can tell you that, again, to any listener, maybe too, who's like, maybe is experiencing this, or is in early stages of maybe getting out there and performing, it is exposure therapy to go out and to maybe play these more unsavory open mics or experiences or whatever, because I'll tell you, I've played out so much, let's just say like in like the past 10 years, I really don't get those shakes anymore. I'm pretty chill now. And I think it's just because of exposure therapy. You eventually just play in front of people so many times that you do eventually kind of, I think I know for me, there was just something that clicked, and I'm like, cool, we're in front of people. All right, maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't. I'm going to try the best I can in this moment, and, we'll see what happens. And I think, yeah, it's like you eventually get to that point where you're like, okay, this is fine. You know, if they hate it, they hate it. Because at that point too, it's like I had been in those rooms, in those bars that didn't pay attention to me, and felt like nobody cared and nobody listened. And when you do that enough, you're like, okay, so this is like maybe the worst it's going to get. And so, you know, maybe it can get better as, you know, as we continue. So I think it is like a game of like exposure therapy.
I do too. I remember, I think I said this only once before on the pod. Maybe I said it before though, but I had a very similar experience to what you were saying. I didn't write a song about it, but I specifically remember being like, why can't I capture anyone's attention at these open mic nights? And one night I had this revelation where I was like, oh shit. You know, this is after I played maybe like 6-7 times. Right. I was like, I didn't want anybody to pay attention to me. I was just trying to go up, and I wasn't looking at them. I was just playing my songs and leaving. Yeah. And then I started to be like, hey, I'm Rich. I'm playing a new song here tonight. I want you all to, you know, I started like actually be more like engaging. Yeah.
That's a part of it too.
You might not get that look back, but like that was actually a huge step for me where I was like, oh, I didn't want them to. It was all for me those first few times just to be like, I'm going to play my song and then get out. You know?
Yeah. I think that's really interesting too, because I think, I mean, when I talk about my journey as like a songwriter from the time I started writing songs, I do describe myself. I was a closeted songwriter for a long time. I was really afraid to share anything that I was working on because I was afraid that, you know, it's this point of vulnerability. I was afraid people would laugh. I was afraid that I wouldn't be taken you know, seriously. And I think too, in those early stages of going out and playing, I was making myself small, like, or I wasn't, I don't know, there's this is my experience, but like, there was a degree, like when I would be like sharing something new, whether that was in a public space and I was playing live or maybe just to a singular person. Oh my God, I think there was a program in my brain of like, I am small, bashful artist. And like, you know, I can't, I don't know. That was just like the way, I don't know. I don't know if that was like through messaging I felt like I got through like other musicians, like that kind of like that being humble factor. But I think the being humble factor, like it clashes with you sharing your thing. Like
it totally does.
It was a really interesting thing. And I feel like I just fully navigated it. Like, I feel like I just recently, or like maybe within the past, like, I don't know, like 3 to 5 years, finally broke out of like, I am artist and small, and just be like, hey, I'm artist and this is something I have to share with you. And I really hope you enjoy it. And I think there's just like a total difference in like messaging, body language, and it's like, look, it's like, it's a learning process, right? It's like, it is like really vulnerable, and you do just kind of want to shrivel up because it's like, well, isn't it enough that I'm up here? And it's like, well, no, I think exactly. It's like, there's like a whole attitude thing, I think that like, at least for me, like needed to change, into like, I guess like how I was, sharing my songs like with other people. And it's like, even if the room hates you, or whatever, it's like, I think I still, at this point, still want to get up there and be like, hey, like, I'm Roe, this is Roe Knows Best, this song is about whatever, like, you know, thanks for sticking around, like, whatever, like, just to be, it's just like a whole different attitude change, but yeah, that was something that needed to be, like, learned and realized through growth, to where, like, you and I could be, like, you know, talking about it now.
Well, that's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. But yeah, we should. Let's talk about the album, because I want to make sure that you get time to elaborate. But this was a really good sidetrack because I wanted to get into the mind of Roe.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the album. You kicked it off a little bit on the last episode where you talked about you working with, it's Doug Gallo, right?
That's correct, Doug Gallo, yeah.
And you guys had him, you said he worked on the weekend at Mauchie's.
Yes, he mixed and mastered that, and he also had added like some guitar and like other little bells and whistles too on that. And then Doug too. I had worked with Doug. I have a single out on streaming platform now. Yeah, like called "Spent the Summer Alone," which is on Now Arriving at Secaucus Junction. I ended up putting that on there. But that song, "Spent the Summer Alone," was the first time that we had worked together ever, and it just went so well. I had never worked with somebody the way I had worked with Doug. It was like really, nice. It was truly like hand in glove. Like I just felt like Doug is a very talented person. I think he's a very smart songwriter, but he's also very production and engineer savvy. Like he's got like that arsenal of knowledge of like microphone placement and how to make things sound. He's incredible at all of Pro Tools. Like he's a very, very smart, talented guy, but very smart songwriter. And one of the things I really liked working about him is that he wasn't afraid. And I told him not to be afraid of this either, because it's always a collaboration, but like he was never afraid to be like, what if we put like a harmony like this, or like, what if here something happens? Like, I need that dialogue because like, I definitely hear the song a certain way. Cause like I wrote it, I demo the song a certain way. Cause like, I'm trying to expand on it, but ultimately it's like his insight and his ears are so valuable to me. I love having those conversations in the studio. Cause at the end of the day, it's like, it's not so much about what I want. It's about what best serves the song. And I'm always about what best serves the song. Like I can have an idea and then I'm like, we don't need to do this because it's my idea. Like, it's just an idea. Like, let's throw it away if it's not the best idea, you know? But yes, worked with Doug Gallo on Now Arriving at Secaucus Junction. And, you know, yeah, Doug played an array of instruments and mixed and mastered the whole thing.
Okay, so I think this might have been an Out of Touch. Maybe we're going out of order or not.
Out of Touch is track one. But yeah, I know. I just brought up Spent the Summer Alone. But yeah, Out of Touch.
No. That wasn't going to be out of
okay,
my
gotcha.
question was going to be so I noticed that there's a lot of great production on this, and every single track, one of the notes I had was that there's not a moment wasted of listening time.
Ooh,
which
thank
I really
you, my friend.
appreciate. Because that
Incredible.
takes hard work, right?
Yeah.
Like that means that you and Doug are sitting through each phase of the song,
right?
And saying like, what are we going to do different in this verse? What are we going to do different in this chorus? How is it's not just like on autopilot to get through it,
right?
How did you kind of like, we can get into those pieces, but overall, I'm curious to know how you synchronized that as you were recording, because there's parts where it's like, for example, you'll have certain parts where you do that like punk rock, like you skip a beat and then you all come in.
Oh, right. Yes,
like
yes,
that kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Like what happens? Like, do you decide to do that beforehand and then record it all, or do you like get halfway through and you're like, we should do this? Oh shit, we have to re-record that part.
It probably, I think I know what that thing that you're talking about that's on Out of Touch, where like the beat kind of stops for a second, then we come back in. Yeah. That was something I think that was something that happened in the songwriting process for me. So cool. I think I was playing this at home by myself, and yeah, I think it's the third verse, and it's my pen betrays my mouth. I am out of touch. Like it, you know, it kind of, and I think,
it's like instead of
so satisfying
on 1, you start on 3.
Yeah,
like
I think touch. it was something that was happening. I think I was strumming, like I was doing up and down strums because I was probably on an acoustic guitar at home. And maybe like my hands needed to reset. The phrase was maybe a little longer, and it felt good to do that. It's this defying expectation. It's, you think you know what's coming, but I'm going to switch it up on you. I love messing with the listener because I, as a listener, love being messed with. I love that. Because again, I like to be entertained. I like to be surprised. These are things like I gravitate towards. So something like that for Out of Touch happened, I think, very naturally. And I have to say too, I think this has, I guess, been my process thus far. Ultimately, when I bring the songs to Doug, they're demoed and what have you, format wise, and even that, like that little, like, you know, defying of expectation there for Out of Touch, kind of had already like been pre-decided. And I think at the end of the day, we're just finding out how best to like orchestrate. And I think a thing we had talked about a lot too, as we were like kind of building these full band arrangements, it was about like maintaining energy. And I think that was a thing too. And so we were, I think, opting, like, even with something, again, talking about Out of Touch, there was a degree where we were doing guitar takes and I was doing up, down strums because that's how I usually perform the song. And I felt like something wasn't clicking and we were talking about it. And I forget if it was Doug who said it or maybe I said, but one of us was like, you know what, let's just do down strums, like just down the whole time and just like see. And it changed the energy. It totally transformed the energy of the track. It made it more driving. And it wasn't like the chords were different. It wasn't like we were playing things to a different beat. It was literally the direction in which the chords were being strummed. And it just took it on a whole new level. But yeah, I feel like, because the songs are mostly built, I think as I'm bringing them into Doug, because that's just me trying to like do my homework as a songwriter and an independent songwriter and trying to save like time and money and like, you know, use everyone else's time respectfully. Yeah, I think it was kind of like those were like the solid foundation. Every song was like, you know, the format was done, foundation upon which the house of production and like full band arrangement was built.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I asked that only because when I'm putting something together, what you said about your head, you know, getting what's out in your head, that all resonates. But then I also struggle with, maybe it's because I played in bands probably a little longer than you. A lot of that stuff always came from the band. Right. Like it'd be like, and I was never the songwriter, right? I was the drummer and the bassist. So it'd be like, you wrote the song, now I'm the bassist, hey, let's skip a beat here. Or like I do a lot of that as the drummer. So now when I sit down and I'm making up a drum part, it's really hard for me not to like think like a drummer when the track already exists. Like I'm like, wait, I want to add this stuff, but oh shit, we would have to start all over again.
What's actually really interesting about that, I'll say this, and again, it comes back to like defying expectation, making it entertaining for me and the listener. I think as I've grown as a songwriter, one of the things I think, again, solo songwriter, how can I be more entertaining? I think there was an element of I need to be more percussive when I'm performing live. So I think there's a degree of like, if I'm not performing with drums, which I mostly had not been, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do the rhythm a little differently here because I have control of it.
Right. Yeah,
and I think it was, I don't want to go so far as to thinking like, oh, and I thought like a drummer, because I don't necessarily think that's what happened. But I think there was a degree of like, well, I'm in charge of the rhythm here, you know, like as the solo artist. And, you know, you only have so many choices, you know, when you're performing solo and 4/4 or whatever, that I think that felt satisfying. And I think a band who did do that well, you know, taking it back to like early aughts, but you know, Say Anything comes to mind. I those earlier records, they always, I felt like they defied expectation really well. Like you never were quite sure sometimes where the drums were going to come in. I also felt like on those earlier records, the drums and the lyrical cadence or like melodic, like that stuff was like in lockstep, which was really interesting to me. And there were also moments too on those earlier records where you didn't quite know if the time signature was going to change either. And I think I liked being surprised. Anyway, just kind of like the lore of where all that came from. But yeah, I think there was a degree of like, well, I don't have a drummer, so I'm in charge of the rhythm, and what can I do to have this be driving? And, you know, even though I'm just up here with a microphone and an acoustic guitar or whatever.
Did you also on Out of Touch, was that the song where you sang over the solo, or the solo played in double with your singing? Because I thought that was really cool too.
That might have been NJ2LA. I hope I'm remembering stuff correctly.
I'm sorry. I should
no,
have,
no, it's no, yeah. It's okay. That's not a dig at you.
I know. I don't want people to be going and listening.
There is a part in Out of Touch where I do kind of like sing over something happening.
Yeah, I think that it's on there. I'm trying to remember, but
yeah,
that was really cool too. There were all these little pieces of I
think it was NJ2LA where I sing over the solo part. Yeah, I think that's right. Because I know for NJ2LA I'm going like da 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 da, and then there's like a guitar going over that as well. And that was something too where it was like I was playing that solo, and so that's the way I heard the solo. So I would just sing it when I was playing solo. Yeah. And then I think, Doug, I think, ended up playing the mirroring that, I think. And then, but in the vocal takes, I just kept doing that because I was like, well, this is how I perform it. And if we don't like it, we can always take it out. But maybe we'll keep it in. And I think when we ended up, keeping it in because it was just, I guess, the way I performed it.
That's what I anticipated. Yeah. That's me as a songwriter, or as a solo performer, noticing that. But I was like, yeah, that's really cool because when you played alone, you probably just sing that solo. But now it's both.
And it's funny, too. I don't know why I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about it because I think it pertains to what we're talking about. But our mutual friend, Andrew Naparent, I went to an open mic. This was years ago. Might have been at the Fine Grind. Andrew Naparent was hosting this open mic. And one of the songs I think I did a cover. I did a cover of I'm Only Sleeping by the Beatles.
I love that song.
And I ended up singing, there's like a solo part that's like really a backwards guitar part. And I sang it because it was just me up there.
Amazing.
And so I remember Andrew came up to me after, he's like, it was so great. You sang like the backwards solo to I'm Only Sleeping. And I laughed. I was like, well, what else was I supposed to do there?
Yeah, I used to play that song, and I just skipped that. And
I would just go da 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 da.
That's the move.
Yeah, but and it's great too. It's like, who doesn't want to sing that? It's like this, like really, like weird, like lazy kind of, sound. But yeah.
Before we move on from Out of Touch, I have a few other things.
Sure.
What else do you want to say about it? So what's Out of Touch about?
Out of Touch is about, there was someone I had a crush on, and it was kind of like I kept trying to deny that I had a crush, and then it almost became like too big to contain. And so there was just kind of like a lot, it was almost like it had been bottled, and then like the lid would pop off. And I think that's also like in the song where I just go, and I just have like that big thing there. I mean, like that was just kind of like, holy God, I can't like hold this in or deny it anymore. Right. But yeah, I think it was kind of about, it's funny. I feel like it's like songs sometimes like the meaning changes, or like as you sit with the song longer, you feel like it's like about, something more than what you originally thought it was about.
Was it the first one you wrote, or the first one you recorded as well? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think this might have been. Okay. I think that's correct. We did start with Out of Touch for sure. But yeah, I think it was kind of it was just about like acknowledging this crush, and then realizing that I did have it, and it was. I think ultimately, I've centered on, it's about like, you can't make, it was acknowledging this crush, and also like, you can't make someone love you the way that you may love them. And I think it was kind of like reckoning with that. And it was kind of about, and this too, I think like this kind of the I guess the timeline of, when the events were occurring for the song, it was probably, I would say like between like 2019, 2020 too. So I and this song too, I'll say this as well. This song took a long time to finish. I could not finish this song, and friend of mine, but also an artist I've been a fan of for a very long time, Jenny Owen Youngs, during COVID, she had something on Twitch called Office Hours where you could bring a song to her that was like unfinished and she would like offer advice and stuff on how to finish it. And I ended up bringing this song to her, which was unfinished. It just kind of like existed in a loop. And like, I felt like I couldn't get past like the first like 2 verses and the chorus. Like I just couldn't move past it. Like I didn't know what came next. Anyway, I spent like a lot of time on like trying to finish it. And then when I finally finished it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I can't believe it's done. But yeah, I think like that's kind of what it was about. And it was the first song that Doug and I think took a crack at.
But after Spent the Summer Alone, right?
Correct.
Wait.
Spent the Summer Alone, for sure. No. Like Spent the Summer Alone was like its own session. I ended up releasing that as a single, and I put it on this record because it was a song that Doug and I worked on in like the same space.
Sure.
And I just felt like this probably has a home here too. But
I liked the ordering you came up with, though, because
thank you.
Out of Touch, like I love sequencing of albums. It's like one of my favorite parts of dissecting an album.
Yeah.
But the first track is so important, and they all are, but first and last track are so important. And Out of Touch is a perfect one. It's like light feeling. Yeah, it brings you into the vibe. But it also is nice. I like that it's the second one that you all worked on together, the first one of this group.
Right.
I like when they're. I don't really personally care, but I tend to notice that I like when it's like an earlier song that's in the session because it just has that like more raw feeling to it.
Yeah. And I think it's about, I think it's energy too, right? I mean, like, and all of this, with the exception of Spent the Summer Alone, all of these songs were kind of recorded like this time last year, maybe a little, earlier than that, but like, it was like late 2024, I think, when we were kind of, doing all of this. And it was, I thought I wanted it as the first track because I thought it was really energetic as like things that you're saying, like it pulls you in.
Yeah.
And I just really thought the energy on it was like kind of undeniable. And so I thought it best to like lead with that. It just made sense, I think, out of all the other songs for that to have the track 1 placeholder.
Yeah, and it kind of opens up there's like a theme of some of these things.
Yeah.
Like I think you kind of, I don't know if it's all non-fictional or not, but like you are getting vulnerable in the subject of these songs probably more than the other stuff I've listened to of yours. For sure. And
and I think, honestly, it all is all it's all autobiographical to a certain extent. I mean, we could probably go through like specifics, like for example, like on Smoking the Furniture, is there really a Steven? Is there really a Katie? Is there really a Kevin?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But it's like these, like, I'm not like meaning that, like, I'm not like, I was not directing this to specific people in my life named that. But I don't want to jump across too far because I don't know if you want to go. No,
I don't care. I just do that to make sure we hit everything.
I'll bring up Smoking the Furniture next because I do like talking about Smoking the Furniture. Smoking the Furniture came to me in a meditation. Like, and not just the melody, like the whole thing.
You said that about another song one time too.
Line Drive was another one, which is on my Northbound EP. Also came into me in a meditation. Not the whole thing, but like the melody did. Yeah. And it was very distinct. This was like a 6. I was up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was meditating, and I have no other way to describe this other than that. The whole song flew into my head, words and all. I mean, like, with the exception, this too was another one that was a little challenging to finish. I'm just also like, I'm referencing my own lyrics here just so like I can guide myself here.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah,
but like, the first 2 verses with all the names like Stephen, Mary, Kevin, Katie, all of that like flew into my head. And I think like it's funny because when you meditate, you're not supposed to like hold on to thoughts. I was holding on to this, like my life depended to it. And I have an early voice note too, but that I can probably easily find. But it's literally, I think it was so early in my house. I like went into the garage to sing it into my phone because I was afraid I was going to be too loud with it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was like literally the first two verses, I'm just like singing to my phone. It's like 6 a.m. Because I didn't want to forget that. I didn't know where this came from, but
you should put that out.
Yeah, I should. It really mystified me. And I was like, I have to finish this. And I think too, it's like, look, it's like Smoke on the Furniture too. Is like, it is autobiographical in that it's about, you know, falling in love with someone at like a party or like having that crush, kind of like that like young love thing and trying to, you know, being anxious about, you know, being a teenager and hosting a party at your house or a friend's house or whatever. And these conversations and these relationships. And, you know, I certainly was in situations where I was, again, big theme, harboring a secret crush, and people are asking me about it and I'm afraid to be honest. And, or maybe it's like, you know, I got too high at the party and I can't stop talking and I'm paranoid and, and that's just that cacophony, I guess, of people coming up to you while you're in maybe a paranoid and inebriated state and trying to hold it together. And, you know, that kind of like those interpersonal relationships and dynamic and like being a teenager and experiencing all these things for the first time and being in your social group and it kind of feeling like a movie, I think too.
Sure.
You know, but that song initially, it did come to me in a meditation, like basically at least the first two verses, like words and melody and all. And it was just, it was a very wild experience. And those things don't happen too often, but I feel like when they do, I'm very eager to like capture them.
Did you, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I've never had a song pop into my mind like that in a meditation.
It's always when like, I think like you
really
absolutely least expect it. Like,
well, it's almost like it was waiting for its turn too. It's like, oh, everything's clear now.
Right.
All right.
It's like shower thoughts or something.
Right.
It's like when you're not expecting it is when you're like, you're really not expecting it is like when it comes.
Usually I think of my songs on a walk or a bike ride, something like that. Those are my times. Did one thing that I noticed in the songwriting on this one that I appreciated, or I don't know, I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Was that you changed the lyrics on the chorus
Oh,
slightly.
Right.
Did that pop into your head, or was that like an intentional little make it interesting thing that you did?
This chorus was a huge bear for me to write and complete, because I was trying to figure out what the best thing to say was here. But yeah, I think that did not pop up to me. That was something that was very much like
you had to work
hard on. Because I think I was like,
appreciate it though. The work was worth it.
Thank you.
I like that function that you did. I forget.
Yes.
I don't have the lyrics in front of me, but you switched the first. You kept the first half, or switched the first half.
Yes.
The second.
It's absolutely. And I think it was all about, expressing the narrative of we're at, a party. You know, we're at a party. Like it's like a cinematography of like where we are. So, like I am looking at the lyrics because I did make a lyric sheet. So like this is also like not just for you, helpful
Actually,
for
I
me.
Can pull them up too.
Yeah, no pressure. But
you sent them to me.
Like that first chorus is like an empty house. Mom and dad took the weekend off. A hand me down and your aerosol spray. I got an aerial view from the clouds above you singing, it's going to be all right if you just hold your hand in mine. And that's kind of like, empty house, mom and dad are away, we're smoking weed, so aerosol spray. And the aerial view from the clouds above you, if your friends are all sitting on the floor and you stand up, you got that, aerial view, young love, young crush. And then the second chorus is an empty house, mom and dad took the weekend off, a hand me down and I'm feeling okay. And then it's the music gets loud while the conversation drowns. Say it's going to be all right if you just hold your hand in mine. And again, it's kind of like the party becomes bigger. And that's the thing too I really love about the way Doug and I did this song is that expansive outro.
Oh yeah, me too.
Was that, again, cinematography, we're really kind of showing this, like, mise en scène of like this party, and we're just kind of being carried away by the party, the music, the smoke, right? And it just, kind of brings you to like another place or elevation. But yeah, I think I wasn't content leaving that chorus the same. I just felt, again, it's about like expanding on that narrative.
Yeah,
And I think that's why I felt the need to do that and to like slightly change that up. And again, this whole thing of like defying expectation.
And being economical, honestly, now that I'm hearing you talk about it, like, because you're telling a narrative story and you're not wasting. That's what I mean. You didn't waste any time. What did I say? I forgot.
Well, I think you were
not
saying
a moment of wasted listening time, right? Like, because you're like, yeah.
And I appreciate that compliment a lot, Rich, because I think also too, like, I minored in film when I went to school at Montclair State, and I did take like a screenwriting course or two. But I remember one of the most, again, not rocket science, but one of the most valuable things I learned in screenwriting was like, there is no narrative moment wasted. Every line, every scene has a point that's part of the whole, and I think I had never looked at it that way, because I think too, like, if you're writing a screenplay or whatever, it can just seem like totally random, and like, how do you condense everything to make stuff work, and like what makes classics so good, and like what were your favorite movies, like what makes them so good. And it is that thing, it's like not a page wasted. Everything plays a role, everything has a part. And that's certainly something that enlightened me, and I think just by and large, even subconsciously, just like informed my storytelling.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
I've heard Jack Johnson was into film before that, before songwriting, and I never noticed that until I heard him say it, and I noticed he'll say like, "Oh, now I'm turning the camera in this verse or whatever," and I'm like, "That's some high level, songwriting. That's cool." Yeah,
I think it's important to, like, I think, understand that, like, we can use those types of devices, and it can be just as engaging as a film. But
it is one
it's
too,
about,
right? Like, we see that in everybody, or not everybody. I do it.
Yeah, I do. I think theater of the mind is everything. And as somebody too who's like a recent initiate of, like, Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, nice. Theater of the mind. It's everything, and it can be so powerful. We forget how powerful it can be, and that's why why I'm such like a huge advocate of like still reading books and like stuff like that, because no one's doing the work for you, and that's part of the fun, is that you or the listener is creating this reality, or conveying this reality, or this again, theater of the mind, into something that you are interpreting and understanding on your own, and in that way you make it your own. So
totally.
Yeah.
And that outro does that, and it's also got to be fun to play that part live, where there's like the harmony, and then there's the bass coming in, and the drum build up for the band.
We haven't attempted that one yet.
Really?
We have not. I think,
that'll be a fun.
We'll get
like,
there.
Ending.
Yeah, for sure. It's and that's also something too, where it's like, oh, like, could we attempt this live? Like, because I think there's also, again, when we were making these songs, Doug and I was not thinking about having a full band play it. I really wasn't. And I was just like, let's just make this the best we can make it. Right. So I think
Beatles
it's also 100%. And it's just like, I don't want, whether or not I can duplicate this live to like inform how we're going to, record this or make this. But we'll have to see, that'll definitely be on the docket going forward, to see if we can like do justice to that recording.
Yeah. I also said that song reminded me of, it didn't remind me of this song, but in the context of the whole album, this was like your Adams song on Enema of the State.
Oh, shoot. Thank you. That's awesome.
It kind of like comes, it has that like, it's not slow, but it's like tapered back a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's heartfelt. You're right. It is like a little like laid back. And I think too, just refreshing the track listing for myself here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it is probably a point in which things slow down a little bit when you go through the order, because everything is kind of like, high energy, more or less, up to this point.
Yeah, yeah. And in my notes, I have a little more probably than you do looking at the lyrics. But the only lower part in the album, which is good segue into it, is like the bridge of Suffocate, where it's kind of slow and pretty.
Right.
But
It slows down
a moment.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Do you want to talk about that song?
Yeah, I also say this too. I mean,
unless you have anything about Smoking.
No. I think we can certainly move on. I was going to say that many of these songs existed in like infancy, meaning like, the first or second verse existed like in my notes app. And sometimes I'll do that where like, again, similar to melody, I will think of a line and I'll have like something to say about it, but like I'll obviously be in like the middle of my day or whatever. And so I'll write down a couple lines and I'll leave it alone. But even if I write the lines, I still kind of have like a cadence in my head that like I somehow remember, even though like months or sometimes years will pass before I revisit it again. But some of these songs were like, again, very infancy lyrically. And I had a surgery in January of 2024, which I'll just briefly disclose. I had uterine fibroids, which were basically, for the uninitiated, they are benign tumors that grow on a uterus. So like whether it's outside or inside. And so I had many of them. It was interfering with my quality of life. And so ultimately my best option to get my quality of life back is I had to get this surgery. And I did, and it was very successful. And if any listeners have any sort of, what you want to talk to me about uterine fibroids, just hit me up on socials. I've learned I feel like I got a degree basically in like, hormones and fibroids and uterine health and like all of that. So like happy to talk about that if any potential listeners feel the need to talk, because it is like an information desert out there. There's a lot that's still very unknown about female reproductive health, and it's truly a desert. And I had to do a lot of learning because there wasn't really a lot of information out there for me to find. So always want to be a resource to other people. Suffice it to say, I got this surgery. And I was off work for 2 months because I had to recover. Because I basically got a C-section type incision, which then needed to heal. So I was home a lot. And I would say about like the second week of my recovery, I felt well enough to pick the guitar up. Obviously couldn't sing full voice, but I started like noodling around, and I was home. And I think I started looking through my notes app. And I said, what do we got in here that maybe I can try to, finish or continue to write? And Suffocate was one of those songs. And I think, I think I just
What was the part that you had?
I think it was just the beginning. It was like, there's a tree in the shape of a heart on top of the hill of my street. Looks like lungs breathing in the leaves. And on the top of my street, there is a tree that has been cut so that the power lines can run through the middle of it. And so it's split. And so it kind of looks, I'm making a V shape to anyone who's listening, audio only and not video, but I'm making a V shape with my arms. But when the trees grow in, it does kind of look like upside down lungs. And it was just an observational thing that I wrote down. And I was like, I feel like that's something. And like, I just left it there. And when I saw that, I'm like, what's that about? And so I think I just started, writing, and, clearly the state of the world as it is, politically, namely domestically, has been concerning to me for a long time. I think that was top of mind when I was writing this. And so, when I say, we've wondered a million ways that this is curtain to conclusion of some tragic play, I think like debating are our most hopeful days behind us. I think I was debating that a little bit, every hopeful dream, a short-lived piece. And then, when I started playing around with the chords of what could potentially be a chorus, I think the whole lift off like an astronaut part, it just felt right. And I think I started thinking of ways when I was younger. I try not to get like this anymore. But when I was, using, cannabis and alcohol as escapism, when I was younger, frequently. And I think acknowledging that in times of hopelessness, it is my instinct to want to go there. And I have done that, where it's like, well, fuck everything. I'm just going to get blasted and lived my life like that for a while. And I think I became very self-reflective on this instinct. And I think, it's like anything to escape. I just wanted to feel safe, even if it's like these couple hours of ignorance that I crave to escape the reality of the moment. And then it's like, the smoke when it hits my blood, funny how I can breathe again and put the paper to pen, but the feeling is fake. This is how I suffocate. And I think acknowledging it's like, these are temporary salves that don't solve the problem and end up harming me in the long run. And then what was really interesting was that I don't even think I realized when I was writing this, that this is how I suffocate, how it linked to the first verse of looks like lungs breathing in the leaves. And as the song continues, I think I just ended up, I started writing about like the next verse, with the cumulonimbus clouds and the country at war and Mother Nature. And it's like, now I'm talking about like climate change and, the dystopian realities that we live in, and which were not fully realized as they are today when I wrote the song. But I think like it just kind of started to like coalesce, and I really felt like I was saying things I wanted to say in the way that I wanted to say them, which does not always come easy for a songwriter.
No.
But and so it continued, and I was able to write this song, I think, in my downtime recovering from surgery. And I also think there was a degree of like, I was very briefly in the hospital. I wasn't in the hospital for too long. I think I was in the hospital for like 2 or 3 days. And I was put on like a self-administering dilaudid pump, which is like, I think essentially morphine. I tried not to do too much of it. But there is a degree of like your mind gets a little weird in that moment. And then also when you leave that space, even though you're not on those drugs anymore, there certainly was like an acclimating process. It almost felt like I had to, and aside from the fact too, that like I had like a major invasive surgery, you're kind of like coming back into your body. And I felt like, it was to finish these songs too. It was like a therapeutic process, to like, I guess like find my words and figure out how I was feeling. And maybe I said things, differently because I was in that moment too, trying to complete these thoughts and ideas, than if I had, it was just like a, normal, typical day for me. But and in that way, Suffocate is a really special song to me, because I felt like I got to talk about some things that I don't normally talk about in songs, and just bottom line, express my concern for them, whether they be, political issues or environmental issues. But I think also too, to talk about the temptations of substances and to reflect on my usage of them, and this acknowledgement of like, I think there is like that impulse of like, God, everything's terrible. It's like nothing matters. And so I will be, reckless. And I think, ruminating on that and acknowledging that that's like a place where my mind sometimes wants to go, where I feel like I have lost control, or I feel unsafe, because of things going on. But I had never really, I don't think I had really ever kind of like put that to paper.
Right.
And so it felt like, I think just like validating to put that out there for myself at minimum. So.
Yeah, that's some powerful stuff, Ro.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it also has I mean, I've only had surgery twice. Nothing like you had.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Oh,
That
thank you.
sucks.
I'm glad I'm better. And honestly, and like I said too, if anyone any listeners want to reach out, I mean, like, you can consider me a resource. Like, I did like some, I'm still a lay person, but I did like some heavy research, talked to a lot of women on like Reddit and Facebook and honestly, not to cut you off from your thought, I'll just say this as well. What ended up happening too is, like, when I came out that I was getting the surgery, my DMs filled up by women in my life from high school all the way through college, all the way through music industry, of different women who either A, had fibroids, B, had surgery, had other reproductive issues going on. And it just really, it showed me how, like, some of us are like suffering and struggling and we're not talking about it. And that's anybody's prerogative. Nobody has to talk about these things. But I felt really empowered and encouraged and determined to continue the conversation, because it was very apparent to me that, like, we all were like going through something and like we're not talking about it. And so when I talk about my experiences with fibroids and the surgery, it's just kind of me like advocating, like, it's okay to talk about these things. Like, this stuff is really scary. And there's really, depending on what someone's ailment might be, it was really difficult for me to find information on this in my darkest hour. And thankfully, I had many helping hands and, supportive family. And like, I ended up finding a really good surgeon for me. But it took a bit to find and feel like I was on the same page with what was happening, because I've been like a pretty healthy person my whole life. And it was like, it was like a really scary thing that happened to me. So anyway, just advocating for that. If anyone wants to reach out, but please continue.
Because what I was going to say is, it seems like, and you kind of validated it a little bit or enforced it a little bit, is like what you wrote about is almost a mirror of that in a different topic, right? Like, it's like you're taking all of that energy that you had from your surgery, and whether consciously or not, right? But even just hearing what you said, even down to the hitting the morphine button, right? Like, you're coming back and reassessing similar things as this person. It's almost like your return as a songwriter after going through all of that.
Sure.
And just closing some loops of some other things that maybe seem a little more petty after being under the knife,
right.
But I get it too. And that's a weird state, like, to be in those few days of recovery, where you're just kind of, exactly. And I've only had like my wisdom teeth taken out.
Same.
And I had like extra teeth and stuff. So like, it was like a lot, but like, and I also had an ankle surgery from skateboarding injury.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, that doesn't even, it's nothing like,
I mean,
it's
at the end of the day,
though, you know what I mean? So
for
like,
sure.
it's like, I tore my ankle.
Right. And listen, like, surgery is surgery too, like, not to minimize those experiences either. I mean, like, it's really scary and crazy sometimes. And, and I think also too, like, I had never had like a hospital stay. I mean, like, it was kind of wild to live through that. But I think ultimately, look, I think if you are a follower or proponent of like the hero's journey, like Joseph Campbell, I mean, like, sometimes, the adventure comes to you. Sometimes you go to the adventure, and sometimes like you can't refuse the call. I mean, the call for me was to have this surgery, and I had to go through this trial. And as prepared as I was for it, it still was like a major thing. And there's a lot of elements to that. And then it's kind of like this, homecoming process, like, once you're done and recovering, and also too, not to get too into the weeds, but when women or anybody who has any sort, no matter how you identify, any sort of surgery to do with your reproductive organs, I think especially those who have a uterus, there are hormones associated with that. And because like they touched it, there were like little blips of like, I would feel like kind of blue, and was told that was like to be expected because they touched the reproductive organ. And like my hormones like had to kind of re-regulate too. And like, you know, that was also like really crazy. And, you know, and thankfully it's like, yeah, like I had a super supportive, you know, family, friends, you know, therapist, and got through it. And honestly, I think by and large that was really fine. Like, you know, my little blips of, you know, post-surgery depression, not very bad. You know, I've read like other encounters of like what other women have like experienced and gone through and what have you. But yeah, I mean, like that's like a factor too. And so you're kind of like re-regulating like everything.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a lot. It on top of having, you know, just physically recovering yourself.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
And then mentally coming back too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's cool that you got to write a song.
Yeah,
in that space.
Right.
Let me see if I have any notes on that.
Sure.
This is the one that had the singing and the guitar solo part.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah. That, and again, solo in my head, was performing live, and
you might have done it in other songs too. This is just the one I wrote.
Yeah, I know I did it in NJ2LA as well. But yes, I forgot I did that here.
And then you had the bridge "Slow and Pretty" I wrote.
Yeah. And that too is supposed to be like you know, when you're intoxicated and like kind of time slows down, and it's like you kind of come out of the frantic nature of whatever you're running from. And then it's like, you know, I mean, just based off experience, you're in the passenger seat, you're being driven home, kind of like that look in the mirror moment when like you're fucked up. Mm-hmm. And, you know, again, that kind of coming back down to earth moment.
Or even, you know, the surgery. Right.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about this?
No, I think I did say a lot about it. But yeah, I hope, and this is with all the songs, I hope people like it and enjoy it. This is one that we've been playing live a lot. And I think
oh, cool.
Yeah,
nice.
This one has been sounding like really good live. And I think people have been enjoying it. And yeah, looking forward to people listening to it. And, you know, anyone can hit me up on socials, you know, at Roe Knows Best on Instagram and stuff. You know, tell me what you think about all these songs. You know, I want to hear.
What songs are you playing live? Which ones of these?
Out of Touch, Spent the Summer Alone, Suffocate, Secaucus Junction. We also just started playing. Closure is a big one. NJ2LA is a big one.
Nice.
And that's it so far. Cool. Yeah, like the band has learned a lot of them, just not all of them yet. But like Smoking the Furniture is maybe on the docket. I know I talked to my guitar player, Mike. He had like some thoughts and ideas, I think, to bring TV Tyranny to life, which is the last track on the album. But we'll get there. Yeah, like and like we'll get there too, like with I think the band and learning more songs and playing more shows. Honestly, everything I did with the band this year, I think exceeded like any and all expectations.
Nice.
So I'm just like
that's
glad
great.
that we played shows and we were like, you know, able to play together.
Yeah, I'm glad for you too.
Yeah, thank you.
That's so awesome. So before we move on, one other thing that I had for a bunch of these songs that with Suffocate I have is that I really appreciate, again, you know, no moment wasted. The endings are really great on all these songs too, and I really like how you just do the like how I suffer.
Yeah,
and then it stops. Oh yeah, suffer. Yeah.
It was just like a guttural.
Very
you know
pump rock,
what's
punk
funny?
rock.
What's funny too is like I don't know if I would consider this song a reference. I mean, it definitely. As after I wrote it, I was like, oh yeah, there's this song. There's a song by Against Me called Suffocation. And one of the cool things that Laura Jane Grace does in that song, so the chorus is like suffocation, and then the guitar goes modern life in the Western world, suffocation, and she goes like huh! Like there's like a huh! In like the chorus, and I love that, and it's just like this kind of like guttural primal like energy release. And anyway, I don't, and again, maybe that was like kind of in my head, because I wouldn't say that like, oh, I listened to this song, I listened to Suffocation and I wrote Suffocate, but it was like after I wrote it, I was like, oh yeah, that's a song by Against Me I really liked. And that kind of guttural, like, oh, I just thought that was great. Like, no, who's doing that? I don't know.
No,
but anyway,
yeah, exactly.
Felt inspired enough. Again, it's all about defying expectation. So it's how I suffocate, it's how I asphyxiate, you know, I'm ending the song. And then when the band drops out and I go, like,
nice.
I've seen the surprise when people are like, whoa, like it's cool to watch people react because they're not expecting it.
Yeah. That's really cool.
So that's been fun to watch on the other side of the mic. It's like, you know, having people react to that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm just scanning my notes to make sure.
No, you're good. Actually, do you mind if I pop away to get some more water real quick?
Yeah, and then we've been going for a while. Out? Yeah. Okay, we're back.
Yes.
And so Smoke and the Furniture and Suffocate, actually, they have a similar kind of, you know, they're both talking about struggling with escapism and, you know, growing through just being a person, being like a rebellious spirit, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
And then you kind of switch up into Secaucus Junction, and I really like that switch. Is it halfway through the album?
Yeah, I guess so. It's 9 tracks, and that's track 5. Yeah. So yeah, it's about halfway.
It's a really cool moment in the album, right? We get the sample of the train.
Yeah.
And we also get the you're going to know the name better than me. I read a lot, but I think you read more than me. What is the where it's like going back to the name or the theme of the album, right? Because it's like now arriving at Secaucus Junction. You're
right.
This song is Secaucus Junction.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It's like I guess it's the namesake or something like that, of like the record or something. It's something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so, but it does start with the samples. They start right away, right? So you want to talk a little bit about those samples? Because they're pretty cool.
Yeah, so I had written this too, like lived in my phone lyrically for a long time. And I would say what lived lyrically. I think like the first 2 verses, like before that chorus comes in, like those lived on my phone for a very long time. And I wrote the song, felt good about it. And then I think Doug and we recorded it and we were really excited about it. And I think I was listening to mixes and I thought like, man, wouldn't it be really cool if we had some actual like NJ Transit sounds in here? And I don't know how else to describe this. I feel like there's like Jersey people out there who are going to totally understand what I say. But like, you know, like there's like a front bottom song. Maybe there's more than one front bottom song where like there's like a voicemail or something and it's like in the song and like that kind of like creative choice. And it like makes the song and it's hard to hear the song without that there. Anyway, I was just thinking about, again, like creating like this atmosphere. And I think too, like not to toot my own horn, but like, it comes down to like authenticity for me. Like, I think I'm a really authentic person. It's something I pride myself on. And I think that does come through in my music as well. And like my lyric writing, I always try to be like authentic. I am an NJ Transit girl. Like I've been taking NJ Transit like since I was like 16 years old. You know, I'm very familiar with the trains and the buses in my local area. I've been taking them a long time. I have a job where I commute into the city, so I take them there as well. And, you know, again, kind of like talking about like cutting teeth and, you know, or paying your dues or whatever. I mean, like, I feel like I paid my dues at Secaucus Junction my entire life. I just feel like it's a place I've frequented a lot. I feel like I know a lot about it. I feel like it knows me. And I feel like it's one of those things where there are landmarks of our lives as we grow older. And some of them, stay the same and are still I guess, like, you know, like statues, you know, vigilant and firm in their placement in our lives. And I felt like Secaucus Junction was that, is that, currently still is that for me. And with that, yes, going back to like the little sounds that I put in there, I just kind of, I didn't want to overcomplicate it. I think I was on my going into work and stuff, or coming home from work, and I would just like take out my phone and I would try to like find a quiet car and try to get like some conductor sound. And I knew it was going to be like shitty because it's like, you know, the conductor speaking to the PA and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it opens up with the, you know, conductor. I have some door sounds in there, the little chimes of the doors closing. I have that voice at Secaucus Junction, that kind of like that female robotic voice. And it's like, you know, please watch the gap, and, you know, please watch the state, blah, 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 you know, whatever her words are there. And then that great train whistle that I got waiting for the train at Delloiacono Station on like a cold February morning. And it just works so well where we put it in the song. And it to me, it makes the song like come alive. And again, this whole theme of making it all more cinematic and like 3-dimensional. And I think too, just like, this is the namesake of the record, and I think I chose it as, you know, chose Now Arriving at Secaucus Junction as the namesake of the record, because it's a place that I'm very familiar with, that I don't know if I want to say like it represents me, but like it's a part of my life. It's a part of the area in which I live. You know, it's part of my narrative as like a person and a songwriter. And I think too, speaking now more broadly, and full disclaimer, not to equate myself with Bruce Springsteen. I'm not going there. I don't believe myself to be equal to Bruce Springsteen on any sort of footing. But acknowledging, I think, as a New Jersey creative and songwriter, he's a monumental figure. And when we look at someone like Bruce and why we love Bruce, it's because of his authenticity, his humble nature, and of his way of bringing the New Jersey environment in the way he experienced it to life. And I think that's like a big calling card of him, and why so many people adore him. And I love that. And I think that's great. And that's a part of his story and his narrative and his authenticity. And I think there was a degree of like, as I was writing these songs, I was trying to figure out this album. What are those things to me? Because yeah, I'm not Bruce, but I am a New Jersey songwriter. And it's like, what are those things to me? And it's like, you know, I might not be writing Born to Run, but I did write Secaucus Junction because I felt like it was a place I knew well, that, you know, fine, I'll take it, like did represent me a little bit, and had experiences there I thought was worth writing about. And I think in this particular song, I mean, and this has happened on multiple occasions, but it's really about a specific moment, but you know, and what's so crazy too, let me tell you what the song is about, and then I'll talk about, you know, how it's been playing live. But it was about a specific moment in my life where I was connecting at Secaucus really late. It was like a really late night. I had gone to a show in the city. I was drinking too many PBRs early enough that by the time I got to Secaucus at somewhere between 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning, I was already feeling hungover. And I was regretting everything, and my connecting train wasn't there. It like was delayed by an hour. I wanted to scream, and this is something. If you've been to Secaucus, you've probably also wanted to scream because your train wasn't on time. It's a classic calling card of New Jersey Transit. And what had happened was I had recently-ish at that time had a falling out with a former very good friend of mine, like from high school. And they had kind of gotten into like, they went down like a further avenue of drugs than I had gone down during college. And I was not interested in going down that avenue. And they did, and I didn't. And because I think our interests divulged, we just kind of fell out with each other. And I hadn't seen or talked to this person in like a long time since that had happened. And lo and behold, while I'm in my like, you know, hungover state of misery, waiting for my delayed train, I run into them. And it's like this jarring, and to anyone who's ever kind of encountered someone, whether at Secaucus Junction or otherwise, that they haven't seen in a while, there's like kind of a moment where, at least for me, like my body was like, okay, we're going to have a positive social interaction. And like, you're kind of putting on this happy face and like, oh, how are you? And like feigning interest and like trying to get through the interaction because you both acknowledged each other. And it's like this really awkward moment of like, yeah, everything going good, oh, I'm glad to hear that. Oh, okay. And it's like, and meanwhile, it's like, feeling hungover, dying inside, what is this person thinking? And also too, like, mourning that person while they're still standing in front of you. And, it was about that moment. And the second, the verse after the first chorus, if sometimes I label my choruses, I guess technically, okay, it's the third verse to me with the, I'm toe my sneaker on the yellow edge of the platform. And that verse, I was really thinking about, like how I had gotten there with that person, and, recall how I couldn't keep up with your chemical obsessions, the awkward hesitation in my sophomore dorm room as I realized we were going down different tracks. Of course, tracks and tracks, right? We're at this train station, tracks like different life paths, right? And so that's basically like, what the song was about. And, loved adding in those little authentic, New Jersey Transit sounds in there. And I really felt like it helped the track come to life, and I'm really, really proud of it. I'm proud of the whole record, but very, very proud of that song.
I like the whole record, but I really like this song as well, for all of those reasons.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me because I also have taken New Jersey Transit a very lot. But see, if I'm at Secaucus Junction, shit has gone wrong.
Yes.
Because it's not my path. Like, I take the Montclair Booten line.
Oh, got you. So, like, yeah. So if I'm you're there, there's something wrong.
I don't know Secaucus Junction.
You're like more Newark Broad Street.
Yeah, Newark Broad Street also is the worst if you're stuck there. I've been stuck there at 1 a.m. and it sucks. It's outside. Yeah. I'd rather be at Secaucus Junction.
For sure.
But if I'm there, like my parents are coming to pick me up or something because the train line is broken and I'm just trying to like get out of New York and I'm like, just fuck it, pick me up at Secaucus.
I'll tell you a really crazy, we could probably be here all day telling NJ Transit stories, but really crazy story too about, picking me up or whatever. I was taking the train a couple months ago from Hoboken. And it does stop at Secaucus from Hoboken, but it was a mainline train, and after the train left the station, okay, so they announced this is a mainline train. So Main and Bergen line run on like separate tracks. That's why it's like kind of equated like Main Bergen line. You'll hear Main Bergen line. Main Bergen line is called out in the song. But it doesn't stop at all the same stops. But I don't know. I think like sometimes like the first initial stop might be the same. I don't quite remember. Don't take my word on that. However, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is train left the station and they yelled at everybody before the train left saying like, this is not a Bergen Line train. This is a main line train. If you're looking for a Bergen Line train, get off this train. Train leaves. Not even, I'm going to say 10 seconds after we've left, the conductor gets back on the PA and says, okay, ladies and gentlemen, this has now changed to a Bergen Line train, and we will no longer be making mainline stops. And me and all the other passengers, and we were all like, people commuting home from work, we're like, what? We're like, what are you talking about? We're like, and then the conductor's like, don't get mad at me. And we're just like, dude, like you just told everyone to get off the train if they were looking for Bergen Line and all the mainline people are on, and now it's a Bergen Line train. So suffice it to say,
that's the kind of shit.
Yeah. So I got off at Secaucus and a really crazy story. I won't take too long going into, but like, ended up being on the train with a girl I went to elementary, middle, and high school.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
We hadn't seen each other. We probably hadn't talked to each other probably since like 5th grade. I recognized her. We recognized each other. Her and I ended up reconnecting and splitting an Uber home. And it was kind of like a nice story. We kind of like reconnected. But like, I'll also say this just in terms of Secaucus, a lot of people come up to me after I play this song live and they have similar stories of like, not the one I just told, but regarding the song, of I ran into an ex here and like we ended up having to awkwardly talk. And it's amazing. It's incredible how many similar stories that this song has brought out by people who hear this. And I also think too, it's like, I don't know. NJ Transit has always been such a big part of my life. It still is. It's part of the fabric of living here. You know, like when I talk about, you know, you want to know what it's like to be Roe Knows best. It's a big part of my life. This is what it's like to live here. You have to put up with the delayed trains and the canceled service and the getting in and out of New York or wherever you're going and the navigating of public transit when it's not great. And you know, it's just part of our lives out here. As people. And I felt proud of this song for multiple reasons, but I think something that's becoming a little more apparent is that this is something that touched a lot of people a certain way. And I feel proud of it because I don't think there's really been a song like this that has called out Secaucus Junction, that has commiserated in the experience of, you know, mass transit, public transit, and the weird, serendipitous, bizarro effect of I'm stuck at a train station and oh my God, it's somebody I graduated high school with who I haven't spoken to in 10 years, whatever it is.
Time. It happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and it's in its own bizarro way. It's its own sort of psychedelic
Yes,
thing.
It's a trip. It's a trippy experience.
Yeah.
And I think also too of this in pure New Jersey fashion of like, I'm going to talk about this place that's, you know, I don't want to say a shithole. It's not that bad, but like, I'm going to talk about this place that does not deserve to be talked about. That, you know, is in the Meadowlands, built on top of a swamp. That is such a crux of the fabric of our like society and our landscape of what it means to live in New Jersey. And, you know, and my experience with it. And this is why it's important. And it's important because it's a part of my life and it's authentically been a part of my life for many years. And it's important because this thing happened to me, this weird serendipitous stuff that apparently a lot of other people have experiences with as well, which is incredible. And because, you know, NJ Transit fucking sucks sometimes. And it can be the bane of my existence. And doesn't that fucking suck? And a lot of people I'm learning are saying, yeah, it does suck. And I'm glad you're saying something. Like somebody came up to me at the last show I played and we had a great conversation. And somebody was like, I like how you're saying like, they said something along the lines of like, I like how you're not saying like, fuck my job or like, my ex sucks or, you know, my parents or my friend, like you're not saying any of that. You're saying like, hey, like New Jersey Transit, like also sucks. Like they were happy that I think I was like vocalizing, even though it's only a little part of the song, just in the beginning when I'm like, you know, NJ Transit, we both could wax poetic till we get to where we're going, and then it's all copacetic. Because then once we get there, we're like, oh, well, it's not so bad. Because we got there. And then we do it all again. Mm-hmm. It's so funny.
It is. It's like you have your own relationship with it. I mean, I've worked from home for a few years, and I started going in the office like every couple of weeks just for fun.
Sure.
Because I miss the city and whatever.
Yeah.
And the first few times I went in, I'm like, this is fucking great. And I was taking the train. And then one time I went out to drinks with friends and I was taking the local train from where I live.
Yeah.
And usually I'd drive to Montclair.
Yeah.
Like back in 2019 or whatever.
Right.
You know, and I get back to Hoboken and it's like I missed the train and it was the last train. And I thought that the trains went all night back to my house, but they don't. Yeah. They go all night to Montclair.
Right.
And I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
And then after that, I started going in more and it's like, oh, the path is, I started taking the path from Harrison. Oh, the path is shut down today. I have to drive to fucking Hoboken, you know, and I'm just back in it. And I'm like, this is why, here we go.
It's crazy.
It's
It's crazy. And that too is like, right. Like it's like a whole other podcast.
But it makes you adaptable,
Totally.
and it's really cool. Yeah. It is a whole other podcast.
I will say that like even I have become very adaptable, and also too being like, all right, like I think just like learning different ways to get home ultimately,
right,
because
yeah.
that can't always be your tried and true. And I'll say this too, it's like, God bless people too who like work for NJ Transit, because I think there's also too, there's like the people who are in it, like the everyday, like I usually take the bus nowadays.
Nice.
Every time I get off that bus, I say, thank you very much. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I appreciate you. Like I like have like a dialogue with my bus driver. I want my bus driver to know that like, I appreciate you being here today. Thank you for getting me to my place safely. I don't say all that obviously it's like I'm getting on or off, but you know what I mean? It's like, I say good morning,
as much as you can.
Yeah. Like, cause I think it's like, they're in the system too, they're in the shittiness too. But like, and again, the whole other podcast too about like how NJ Transit could be better. It ain't this podcast, but I felt like I feel like I really touched upon something. And I think that validation as a songwriter of like, you're writing about an experience. It's that like, micro, macro, local, global, like that thing where it's like, I'm writing about a unique experience, unique to me, but I'm also having some stuff in there too that's like, it's bigger than me. And
yeah, you did a lot of that on this album.
Yeah. And people are getting it. And that's very encouraging to me. And I think I want to continue to write songs like that. That's like the name of the game. It's like this like balance of like, I need to write stuff that's authentic to me and that's about my life experiences, because that's where I'm pulling stuff as a writer. But it's like, yeah, listeners, people in the audience, they're getting a piece of this too. And it's validating for them as well. And I love that. And I think that that's important. And I think hearkening back to Bruce Springsteen, I think in music today, in songwriting today, there is something being lost about, I think, talking about the commuter, like talking about the giving voice to the voiceless, and I think Bruce Springsteen, did that for like the working man. There's other songwriters too, like did that for like the working man or like the working person. And I just don't know. I don't know if all of those, if those people are still being spoken to at the degree of which they were. I even think Billy Joel did it really well in like Allentown, I don't know. I think that again, it's about like human experience and connection. I think it's like, how can I authentically connect and give voice to something that hasn't been given voice, or or talk about something that hasn't been talked about, I'm always really interested in that, because I think there is a part of me that's like, well, what hasn't been said, or what can I contribute authentically to me that I feel like no one's talking about? Why don't we talk about those things, and talk about those things well? Don't just like talk about them because, you're trying to, I don't know, like get something, or I don't know, like, or be buzzy or something,
Right. No.
So yeah,
I totally hear what I think it does happen. I think it happens a lot in hip hop, like even with that's one of the reasons that I love Kendrick Lamar. Yeah, like I love his work because he gives a voice to Compton, and they've had artists that do that, but nobody did that before hip hop, and it gave them a voice in a similar way. And I think New York always has people doing that. Yeah, and I think Strokes, you had those guys that did it.
That's true too. I was going to say too, I think hip hop too, by and large, really good at, I think, calling out wherever they're from.
Exactly.
And
putting
talking
about that experience.
And I think that was something too that like, when I was in college, when I was at Ramapo College getting my music industry degree, I took a couple hip hop classes, Black experience through music classes, and a DJ culture, like learned a lot. And it was really, really informative stuff. But yeah, I noticed that in hip hop, and it was a regional thing to talk about where you're from and what it's like where I'm from. And I'm sure that maybe it did. I don't think it existed in like, I don't know, shall we say like quote unquote rock music, like to the degree in which it did in hip hop. And I think ultimately though, it's like, that's the thing, right? I mean, they say that like, if you're going to ever make it big or get an audience, you have to have it grassroots local first. Like you have to be resonating with the people where you're from first. I think they say in order for you to like, if you have any sort of potentiality of taking off, your hometown's got to be behind you, or wherever you live has got to be behind you. And how do you do that? Well, you talk about, experiences that you have in common, and you talk about things that, you know, pull you to the place in which you're living, that are unique to your place of living, and you know, when you talk about them. And I think I'm trying to figure out how to do that more and more as a songwriter, because then it's like, well, I'm not just a songwriter, I'm a songwriter from New Jersey, and this is why I'm inherently New Jersey, and these are the things about me that make me New Jersey too, you know? And it's like, and I have a seat at the table because I'm a New Jerseyan, and because I grew up and I was born and raised here, and I understand, you know, how certain things are here because I grew up here. And I commiserate with people on the things we commiserate on because, you know, of things like, you know, NJ Transit, you know, yeah, I think just willing to find, as a songwriter, to try to find more points to hit on there so we can continue to have these commiseration moments and points of conversation.
I think we need that. And,
yeah.
You know, Kaz does that really
well.
Yeah,
and he's been super inspiring to me too.
Me too.
Because I think
I haven't written lately, but just in my mental space, he's been inspiring to
100%.
me.
Yeah, John's so great at getting out there. And I think, like you watch him on socials or whatever, and he's in the thick of it. And I think
that's true too.
He helped me too. I think indirectly, I think like I just see him do his thing, and I'm encouraged. Both him and Max Rauch, you know,
of course,
Piece of April, Domestic Bliss. I watch them both do it, and I'm just like I'm proud to call those guys my friends, and also happy and proud to say that I am equally inspired by them. And it's just by them being themselves, but always, I think, kind of bringing it down to Jersey. Because I think that's what it all comes down to. And I don't think that clicked for me with them. I don't think I fully realized that and put that in my own narrative. But when they did it and I saw it, and I was just like, oh my God, this makes so much sense, you know? And it doesn't have to be like these big things. It can just be little things like writing a song about Secaucus Junction. I mean, John, too, has a song about the Passaic River.
Yeah, you know, and he's got like, so I grew up going to the hot dog place, the Rutt's Hut, you know, and I'm like, when he's called the Rippers or whatever, I'm like, this is fucking amazing. Yeah, it's like,
it's like a local, you know, culture thing, and John makes it cool to me. John makes it very cool to me, and I think he got me thinking about identity. I think New Jersey identity in a way that I had not really claimed or taken ownership from in myself. And
we both work in the city too.
We do.
And there's a lot of people in the city who are not from New York. That's New York's vibe too.
Right.
And they will often bash Jersey, which I have a thick enough skin to handle it, but you don't end up. I wasn't talking about now after I've made this mental shift. I'm like bringing in a fucking Taylor ham, egg, and cheese and eating it at the place just to be like, I brought this from Jersey, motherfuckers.
I think that's interesting too. Here. You're right. Jersey used to be the butt, and maybe it still is. I'm tuning it out, but you know, there was one time, I forget if I told you the story, when I was in high school and I was, you know, looking at colleges. One of the colleges I was looking at was Drexel University in Philadelphia. And I went there with my mom, and we went there for a tour. And, you know, we had gathered at, you know, whatever the admissions hall was to get ready for this tour. And it was like a couple of us. And so whoever was leading the tour was like, all right, like, you know, before we get started on our tour, like, where's everybody from? And, you know, people were going, oh, I'm from Ohio. I'm from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And it got to me and I'm like, oh, we're from, you know, Nutley, New Jersey. And they just went, oh, they're like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we were just like, okay. Like, and it's whatever. And like, I didn't get into Drexel anyway because my ACT score was 2 points lower than they wanted. Fuck you, Drexel. But you know, but I'm also glad I didn't get in because I think the trajectory of my life, you know, going to Ramapo College was like a really good thing for me. And again, kept it in Jersey, and I'm glad I did. And also I'm probably like less in debt than I would have been had I gone to Drexel, because at that time, which we're talking like, let's see, like 2008, 2009, I guess it was like around the time I was like looking, it was like 50 grand, I think, for like just tuition. It was like it was insane. And of course I was an out-of-state student. It was just like so expensive. But yeah, so I think there is like a Jersey vibe on this record, and we'll get into the other songs as well.
No, yeah,
like,
I was going to transition into it anyway.
Sure.
You know,
Big
it's
Jersey
like,
vibe.
you know, you can get high just fine in New Jersey like LA, you know?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, that song is sick. That's my favorite song on the... no, it's not.
It's okay if it changes.
It changes. No, that was my original favorite song on the record.
Mm-hmm.
I like the what did I write for it? We're talking about NJ's Greater Than LA.
Yeah, NJ2LA.
I wrote 90s stoner walking down the street music video vibes.
Oh yeah. Let's make
That's
that
what
music
I liked
video.
about it. It was very MTV. You know, that just like or like even like a One Last Dance with Mary Jane kind of like that like stompy like
it had this like swingy vibe, and then
swingy.
Doug had added this guitar part, which I think comes in like the third verse or something like that. That was very Tom Petty, and I really liked it. And I'm like, please lay that down. That sounds amazing. This too was something that was like written. I think I finished, I had a little bit written, and I finished writing it when I was recovering from my surgery. But yeah, it was like very swingy. It was like a lot, I think, like when I was playing, it was like a lot like in the wrist, trying to figure out, I think it really kind of amazed me as I was putting it together, like how swingy it was. But yeah, it had like an attitude immediately. It had like a vibe and an attitude, and I was like, I need to like follow this. But yeah,
and the chorus is really catchy.
Thank you.
And, like just the melody for it.
Yeah. It's because you're still like head bobbing and you're still kind of like rocking. But yeah, this existed in my notes app. The only line I had was, the sky is just as blue in New Jersey as LA. And
that's my favorite one. I said the high one because it's the funniest one, but I love the sky.
No,
that's
but I love that verse too. Yeah, but that sat in my notes app for a while, and I really think it was, again, going about my day, and I looked outside, and the sky was just like beautifully blue. And I've been to LA, and the sky in LA is also beautifully blue. And I think there was a part of me that was like, LA's great, but like Jersey is also great. Like, I think there was a part of me that was like, oh, we like have the same things here. I don't know. There was just something that hit me then when I saw that sky that day, and I wrote that down. And then I just kind of started building on like this vibe and attitude, and the song just grew to the way it grew. And and this too took a little while to finish, format wise, as I was trying to find, where to play stuff. 'Cause the end is really interesting. We had to have like this half chorus. It gets quiet, then it gets loud again, There was a lot of brainstorming as to like how I wanted this to be, and I landed on this, and I was like, this is the format, this is the way it is, this feels right. But lyrically, I was really satisfied, I think, with the way this came out.
You do that. This is the one that I actually wrote. The specific, where you do a really good job of playing between not just a general appeal and a personal story,
right?
Well, you're doing that, but you're also like widening the scope of it's like me versus someone. That's what it's, and then it's also just, by the way, New Jersey is better.
Yes, 100%.
I think also what I think that's popping in my head, and I don't want to forget this.
Sure.
When we talked about Capture the Flag, you said you weren't sure if young Roe would like this song.
Right.
Or not. I do think that Roe at Drexel that day would have loved this song.
I agree with that. I love that.
It kind of scratches that itch that we were just talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is like another thing too. You're right. It's kind of like this, micro macro lens or personal, global kind of thing. And I think, it was just fun to write and kind of just find that moody vibe. And it was so different, I think, from anything else I had written. And just ultimately really proud of it.
Yeah, it's sick. We skipped over Closure. I
Oh,
don't wanna
okay. Yeah,
forget
we can
that.
go back to Closure.
Yeah. I have for this that it gives me a Hold Steady vibe. You ever
Oh,
listen to
yeah,
them?
no, I'm familiar with the Hold Steady. Yeah,
It
that's
took me
great.
a while to a few listens, and I was like,
Sure.
"What does this remind me of?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is a cool like it's got a Hold Steady vibe to it."
Yeah.
And that the Hold Steady's cool because they're kind of like a Brooklyn version of Bruce. You
Right,
know?
right.
Yeah. How'd you write this one?
This one was probably what, if not then one of the most, I think, like autobiographical songs on the record. Like I was just, I had someone in my life who I was incredibly close to, felt incredibly close to, and they, how do I want to say this? They did like some, they did some stuff that really was really disappointing to me. They treated somebody with such disrespect that it really like broke me. Like I couldn't believe it, and it was I decided at that point like not to associate with them anymore. There's like a funny meme. I'm a Libra. There's like a funny meme about Libra, and it was like something like Libra will be like your ride or die for life, and then it was like do like treat me or someone I know with disrespect, and I will leave your life so fast. It was like something like that. I like very much related to this, and it reminded me of this particular situation. But suffice it to say, it's about this relationship, you know, being so close to somebody and then having them disappoint you in that way through their words and actions. In a degree, and it made you feel like you did not know them when you found out, you know, the truth of what they did. And it plagued me. I was very distraught by it because it was just somebody who I had a relationship with for many years. And I had considered myself to be very close to. And it was somebody who it took a while for like almost to like detangle them from my life. Like they were so wrapped up in my life and my identity as a person. It was painful. It was painful to disassociate from them, even though I knew that's what absolutely had to happen. And so this song Closure is about that. And it's about this grieving process of not being able to find the closure, knowing that I would never get any sort of like acknowledgement of the wrongdoing or apology or, you know, and it wasn't just like, you know, the what they had did. It wasn't like anything was necessarily. There were a couple things done directly to me that at the time I ignored. I don't mean to be cryptic, but I also like.
No, I get you.
I don't want to get like too like I don't want to like name names or like get too in the weeds. But suffice it to say that like it did affect me deeply, and I felt I basically in this moment that like I knew I would not find closure in the situation. I was never going to get an acceptable response from this person to where I felt like I could close the book on this relationship and sleep soundly at night. And I think writing this, I was trying to figure out like, or realize that like, I'm going to have to get closure through radically accepting that I will never get closure. I'm going to have to find it through the radical acceptance of knowing I'm not going to get it. Mm-hmm. And that was a really difficult thing to sit with. And it was hard. It was very difficult. I did make it to the other side of it. I think writing this song and, you know, this was a therapeutic part of that process. But that's what it was about. And I think I've also had people come up to me after live shows resonating with this, with this theme of like, yeah, I've had relationships in my life, whether it be with a parent or a partner or maybe a friend, right? Like, I'm not going to get the closure I need, and I just have to figure it out because I can't stop my life or, you know, ruminate on the fact that I'm not going to get, no, I'm not going to get it. Okay, well, you know, like the chorus is closure closes on itself, a vacuum known to space and time. Like it's this black hole. Closure closes on itself. That's it. It's what you seek, you'll never find. So make do and leave your ashes at the doorway. I mean, we were talking earlier, I forget if this was when we were rolling or not, but this sense of Irishness and dissonance and like, you know what? Life's messy and there will not always be happy endings to things. And life will disappoint you and rip your heart out. And this was one of those moments in my life. And, this is me trying to make peace with that radical acceptance. And this is something too that I'm finding that people also deeply resonate with. And while I'm sorry that they do, and because that acknowledges that they've experienced this hell or this purgatory of trying to move past this thing. I'm at least I know that, okay, well, maybe this is another song out there, right, that can help another person navigate that, that kind of like that pay it forward element to songwriting. But yeah, that's what this one's about.
No, yeah, that it's pretty straightforward to get. And what I like about this whole album is you really did, I mean, you and Doug kind of give a collage of a bunch of different styles. You can feel all the influences. I can feel the emo influence here, right? And in a few different ways. One in the lyrical content, the subject, you're using it as a tool, almost like with what you just said, right? Like it's the appropriate set and setting for this type of song. Yeah, but also. Not just, I mean, it's part of the genre as well, but you use emotion. Yeah. And you bring the song up and down multiple different times. And it matches the lyrics, which is really cool. And this is another one where, again, defying expectations. At the end of the song, we make do and leave our ashes. We make do and leave our ashes at the... And leaving it unresolved. And you have to do that. Well, you don't have to, but that's the genius move, right? Yes. And it felt satisfying. It was like another way to convey the lack of closure. It was another way. It was not just lyrically. Not a moment wasted. It was exactly. It was like pulling away the words. I'm not even finishing the sentence. The chord is going to be like open. It was, and in that way, it just felt really authentic. I think to express it in that way. Yeah. And you know what's funny? It's like we've been talking about those elements of surprise, but at some point too, like it's almost like I wouldn't call it a flex, but we've been talking for so long that I'm going to use flex with my brain. Sure. But like when you're writing an emo song or you're writing a punk song, like to make it authentic, you're adding those pieces in there. Like there are emo songs that employ that often as an element of surprise, and you're using that language and those tricks in each of these songs, which is really cool. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Anything else for closure, or No, I think I'm not going to let you. No, that's right. Cut me off. Cut me off. Because that's the theme of the song. Wasted. Yeah, 100%. 191 Bus is my current favorite. Nice. I think this song rules. Oh, thank you. I really, I think this song would be amazing at a festival. Like a music festival, like a film festival. What kind of festival? Music festival. Gotcha. Like I could see it working really well. In like just a huge festival. Sure. Because it's very intimate. Yeah. And it's about being on a bus. Yeah. And it's got that like Adrian Lenker, Angel Olsen, early Angel Olsen type indie folk vibe to it. Yeah. But I also also with that music, I like that too. I just love those songs just blasting out into a thing. But the chorus is really sing-alongable too. Yes. Yeah. This, another NJ Transit song, 191 Bus. No, but that's perfect for the theme of the album, right? Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, this was really funny too. I think this a couple of years ago, what happened? I had a voice lesson. And then immediately after the voice lesson, I had a songwriting workshop
with Kevin Devine. And so I had like it was like an afternoon of like very intensive, lot of music. And after I finished everything, so this was like it was maybe like, let's just say it's like 3 hours of me, doing music stuff. And after it was all over, I was just kind of idling. Like I was sitting down, I had the guitar on my lap, and I just started finger picking, which became not 191 Bus. And I started doing this finger picking thing, which is not usually what I try to do. And in fact, I continued to pursue this song because I was like, I should try to improve my finger picking by, trying to push this in front of me as like a way to do that. But yeah, like this just started coming out, and I again, just like kind of continued to follow it. And this lyrics are kind of self-explanatory. Like, I'm clearly in love with someone, and this actually too, the same individual from Out of Touch. Actually, it's like
what's funny too,
person. Yeah,
I really liked that. Like, I liked that it feels like it's a thread through the album,
and it is.
That's cool. I pictured it like that.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it was about the same person, and I used to work when I was freelancing. I used to work nights, and so I would usually get like the last bus out of Port Authority, and that usually was in the 191 bus. And I just found myself thinking about this person a lot. And, when you're coming out of the Lincoln Tunnel and you go around the hill, especially at night, you have this
that's where I pictured this
beautiful day.
That's
exactly.
amazing.
You were following the narrative. It's, you see that beautiful skyline of New York.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about that skyline of New York and how it's been, I guess like present in my life at other junctures where I've been in love with, other people. And, it's been this landmark of consistency throughout my life, to look back at that New York skyline from the Jersey side. And I think, I think it's a very vulnerable song. I think it's struggling with the vulnerability and the authenticity and fear of rejection. I think of feeling the, fear of rejection certainly incoming, and afraid to speak the truth because of that fear of rejection. And I was really satisfied. I was really satisfied with the way the lyrics and the song came together, but I was incredibly satisfied by how Doug and I put this together in the studio. And Doug got it, understood the assignment. I mean, anything from using brushes on the drums for this.
The drums are great.
And,
yes. The way they kick in.
And he too, he did like a lap steel kind of sound on a guitar, and he like figured that out. And I tried in the demo, I was trying to go for that. I think I had like a dobro sound on like MIDI. I was hearing that, like I wanted this kind of like twang to kind of like be in it, But I was just so, when I was listening back to mixes, this song 191 Bus and like Smoking the Furniture, I was getting like weepy. Like, and I don't get like emotional with mixes, especially too when you're in that mix, you're listening to mixes. It's just like constant, incessant. And like, it's this whole game, at least for me, of like, okay, I got to walk away. Okay, I got to come back. I got to listen on a different device. And you're trying to keep it fresh and not get ear fatigue and like, and at the end of the day, be satisfied with everything. And, am I thinking this is a note because I just listened to it 30 times and for whatever reason, this is what I'm hearing, there's like a whole art, I think, to like trying to listen to your own mixes.
Of course, yeah.
But when these were coming in and coalescing and like manifesting, I was getting like emotional at the way we had executed the instrumentation and arrangement of these. And I was, very, very happy with the way it came out. And I'm really glad that, you're enjoying it as well.
I've taken I take the 197. I think the one.
Okay. To be honest,
193.
I usually do. I don't work nights anymore, right? I'm 9 to 5 now, but I take like usually 192s, and especially like expresses now. Like now I'm commuting at a time where I can take the express bus.
Willowbrook's always express, like I took the bus a lot over the years. I've taken the train a lot, but it just the instrumentation and everything, that turn, I know exactly where you're talking. And I went to school in Hoboken.
Oh, there you go.
So like when I'm coming around that turn, it brings up a lot of memories and stuff for me. And I worked in Weehawken, but just, I don't know, the way that music feels or the vibe that you have on that song matches the vibe that I have had so many times on the bus, which is so much different than the train.
Yeah. It's different.
And especially when you come out of that tunnel.
Yeah.
And you're just like back in New Jersey, you're out. You might even, and if I'm picturing it at night when you're not even in traffic at sunset time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just matches it perfectly.
Oh, thank you so much.
Just really good. And even just like that type of music is what I would be listening to on the bus, which is different than on the train, which would be like, you know, I don't know. Who knows? Rage Against the Machine or something.
Sure.
On the train,
and I think it's so funny you talk about like the differences of like bus and train, and granted, different reasons and stuff, but like, like the train, it's like, it's more or less, it's frustrating because the train is like a smoother ride. But when you stop and like you're just stopped for an indeterminate amount of time and like you can't see in front of you, you can't leave, right? It's so frustrating. But the bus is bumpier, but I can see where we are. If I really wanted to, you know, if I was like stuck in traffic and I was like, there was actually a point where, quick story, I was commuting into the city. This was kind of like after COVID when like everybody kind of started going in again. Something happened on Route 3 and they like closed Route 3 down like all the way to like Rutherford or like I'm in like the Clifton-ish area. They closed it all the way to Rutherford, and it was just like everyone and their mother who would usually take Route 3 had to like go through local streets to go through Rutherford. And it was a nightmare. It was like, it was school traffic, it was commuter traffic, and like basically I was on the bus for like 45 minutes and I hadn't even left my town.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm working from I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, I'm going to work from home.
Just got off.
So I literally just went up to the bus driver. I'm like, hey man, I'm like, I think I'm good. I think you can let me off right here. Like this is before like we got on Route 3. Like we were just on the street. And so he opened the door and I'm like, I'm out of here. I couldn't do that on the train. No. Are you kidding? I can't just get off.
Yeah. Yep. And the lights too on the bus are so much more like, they're dark. They have those like little tiny lights, you know, like
for sure.
And the seats, like, I don't know, like it's a different vibe.
It's a different experience for sure.
Like on the train, if somebody sits next to you, you're like, fuck you. When you sat next to me.
But
like,
on the bus, you're like, listen, we're all in this together.
Someone like falls asleep on your shoulder and you're like, just let them sleep. It's fine.
Like, or too, like sometimes I'll, you know, you'll get up, somebody maybe sleeping next to you and you're like, I got to get up at this stop. And so you kind of have to like lightly tap and be like, excuse me, sorry.
So many people sleep on the bus. It's it's more sleepy. So funny. You know, and this song has that kind of calm, sleepy angst
because it's like it's written from that perspective of like commuting home at night. It's late. I mean, it's a late hour. Your mind operates differently. And then I think especially too, and when this was like, you know, happening and I had, you know, feelings for this person, it's like, like I was thinking about them a lot. And of course, what do you do on the bus or the train?
Right.
I mean,
you're looking out the window.
You're thinking, like, even if you're like listening to music or a podcast, like, like your mind's going to drift. And, you know, when you have a crush on somebody, it's going to drift to that person. And so it was about encapsulating that. And I think also too, like establishing just New York skyline perspective as like the theme, constant narrative in my life. Because like I would go to Hoboken too with friends, like, you know, late teenagers, early 20s. I mean, it was, you know, something that we did. I mean, and we would go late, like we'd go late at night and not really even like do anything. Like we just like hang out on like the waterfront and like, you know, chill out. And sometimes too, in like the cold weather, like we just go there. It was a place to go, you know?
Sure.
But
my first time in a recording studio ever was in the dead of winter at this place called the Machine Shop, which was was my first time recording with a band. I'd been in studios before for school. But it's right on that turn. It's like right when you're going into Hoboken, which is cool. But yeah, it all like floods back to you, right? Like you're back,
Yeah,
you're seeing everything, and you're a new person.
Yeah.
You got new things on your mind. It's
Absolutely.
perfect. I love this song.
And and maybe that's too, maybe that's like the poetics of, growing up in this area, in this, New Jersey, New York area, and continuing to stay here as you continue to grow older as an adult. And it's like, it's like you're gonna encounter these landmarks and locations in a different perspective, in a different way, because you're growing up,
right? Exactly. And it kind of feels like that in this song. I like it.
Thank you.
Delicate I wrote too, which
yes,
I like that word for it. And the piano outro false ending is great as
yes.
well. All right, you want to wrap it up with TV Tyranny?
Yeah, so TV Tyranny, I think this too was something, again, that existed in the Notes app. I think it was like that opening verse or something like that existed there for a while. I think this is a song where I'm really ruminating on a lot here. I think I'm hyper analyzing, I think, television as a medium and how we use it, and maybe how it uses us. And I think, I don't know, and I still think about this with like a degree of great interest and thought. Like, it cannot be understated just how influential television has been and continues to be. But I feel like we've been living with it for enough time where it feels like just a natural thing. Like, it feels like water coming out of a tap in our home. Like, it's just, it's so normalized. But its presence has had such an effect, I think, on the way that we live our lives, I think, react to things, learn about things, the way we cultivate and hold our opinions, and I guess regard ourselves in the public sphere. But yeah, I think, and I don't know, it's the opinion on it, or the analysis of this song as the writer of it is still, I think, like a work in progress. Like, it's addictive, it's invasive, culture of observation, hell-bent on self-destruction. I mean, that's really more of a commentary, I think, towards like the 24-hour news cycles, like culture of observation. I mean, like, we are like what we watch. I mean, and hell-bent on self-destruction, like, we're just, as a human race, like, we're just constantly destroying ourselves, and we watch it and participate in the viewing of it, and have been since the dawn of television, especially in things like, civil rights movement was being televised, and the Vietnam War was being televised. All these things they're still happening. It's just, it's a different year and it's a different time. And we sit down at our altars, pray to talking heads in darkness to stay informed in perpetual freakout. I mean, there's a religiosity, I think, with the way that we live and consume television, that, it's like it's a religion supplicant, I think, in the way that we as a people, like, devote ourselves to it. And I think I just started really thinking about that. And again, coming back to even some of the themes and like Suffocate, with this great concern of, political issues, domestic issues, and by proxy, international issues, like all of these things that inform our global sphere, and being really frightened and depressed and upset, I think, by the polarization of how we self-identify as people and the opinions that we hold, and how TV is like it's a part of that. It's an anchor which divides, and social media by proxy too. Like, it's an anchor that divides, and it's also like connecting us, but it's also dividing us. And, it's, Yeah, like just rereading my own lyrics, but like, we're still cavemen in encampments bridged by uncertain language out here battling for dominance and power. I mean, we're still, it's like, it almost feels like we're fighting the same fight. And television amplifies it with this guise of like, sharing, or connecting the information or sharing the story or whatever. And listen, that's not also, television too has like a lot of good elements. It's not all bad, but I think when I think about the polarization politically, particularly about the world we live in, I feel like it's television and by proxy social media that do attribute to that. And so, yeah, and then we have like this whole, the song kind of morphs into like a whole other part, and it kind of becomes this like intentionally endless cycle. And it goes on and on and on and on, and it kind of ends that way. And perhaps in kind of like a way like Closure, where Closure kind of ends like open-ended intentionally. And this, I think, ends in like a fade out or like this loop intentionally. Not so much a fade out. I think we didn't fade it out. That was like a thing that we discussed whether or not to fade it out, but I don't think we did that. We ended it a little differently. No. It kind of it's only getting worse now. It's only getting worse. Yeah, like it but it does loop. Yeah, and I think, and I did that intentionally because that's how I felt. I felt like we're in these loops. Like we're in these loops and we're fighting and we get upset and it gets loud and I feel the need to say something and it doesn't help, and so it's kind of like this commentary of like, there is no solution. It's just like completely ongoing. And so it on goes to this day. I mean, it's, still going on. We happen to be having this conversation on election day in New Jersey and it's still going on. It's going on right now. Mm-hmm. It went on yesterday. It's going to go on tomorrow. And I don't know how to solve it. But I know it upsets me. And I know that as I try to assess the situation, to analyze the big television machine, it at least helps me kind of structure my thoughts in moments where I am very upset and perturbed by it all. And I'll also say, too, that like, there's a verse in here. It's disruption of the mental plane, concentration navigates way off course. Open my eyes to the laser beam, metaphor, sci-fi machine, watch and learn. I mean, that's really like a call out. I'm a big Star Trek nerd, big Star Trek The Next Generation nerd. It's a great Star Trek episode and truly, and one of the great reasons, science fiction in general, but Star Trek uses science fiction as this medium to talk about broader issues. And I feel like, especially with Star Trek Next Generation themes, there are many things which perhaps not intentionally in the moment were like metaphors for broader things. Some perhaps which were. I feel like as I continue to rewatch those episodes, I find metaphors that pertain to now. And one of those, this is my taking of a, metaphor. There's a great Star Trek Next Generation episode called The Game. And let me see if I can summarize this in the way that makes sense for non-Trek people. But it's suffice it to say that like basically a member of the Enterprise crew brings a game from a different planet to the ship. And it's a fun game and looks like you put it over your head and like these little lasers shooting your eyes and you like put shapes in like a little hole and it's very satisfying. Well, apparently the game becomes so addictive. It like literally physically addictive. The whole crew gets addicted and the whole intention of the game is for this other alien species to like take over their ship. Oh, and they willingly give it over because they're the creators of this game. And it's like this entire ruse for like this alien species to just like take over this ship. And there's one character on the show who realizes that like everyone's getting addicted to it, is really getting crazy with it and is trying to, battle it, or is trying to, bring awareness to it and figure out a way to get everybody like unaddicted to this game because everyone's acting weird and like obsessed with this game. And, I think about that episode and I think about the way that television, like, I think like we can, as human beings, we can get caught up in stuff and not even realize that we're caught up in it, or we can get affected by stuff and not even realize, like we don't even realize when it's happening. And I think it's like, I think about that episode and it's like, all those people who got addicted to that game didn't really quite realize what was happening, until it was like too late. And then like they couldn't separate themselves from it. And I think there's a degree of that, I think, with the way people, like this passive culture, I guess, of like television watching or social media watching, imbibing, scrolling, right? I think, it's that reminder to, I guess, like always be vigilant and analytical as to like the things that are in our lives that perhaps we take for granted or as given. What is really going on with the way that we are utilizing these things, and are they really beneficial to us, or, are they not? And I think, when I have this, like, it's like the daily conversation with, how I utilize, television and social media and other things too. It's like, am I bettering myself and the people around me? Like, am I bettering myself as a human being? And am I being available to those around me? Am I being helpful to others? Am I being kind and compassionate? Or am I being reclusive and argumentative or whatever? I don't know. There's a million ways to, I think, have that conversation and like skin that cat. But I think I was like really trying to like actively grappling with it in the song, actively grappling with it. And I still actively grapple with it now. But again, this song, similar to Suffocate, I just felt like there were things I was saying in both of those songs that I have not really touched upon. And I felt good to put them down and to put them in the format of a song. And I think there are subjects that I would like to continue to dive into. I think as ultimately like just coming to grips with how we live in the world, and I think leaving the album on this note, I think set itself up as a springboard for me to open myself up to going in that direction on the next release, should I desire to do so, or if I felt like I had something more to say. It kind of opened that door and allowed or gave permission for myself to dive deeper in the future.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I resonate with all of that, and I think that it's something that we probably all have to think about. I don't know if everybody does or not. I certainly do.
Yeah.
I actually don't watch much TV. I don't go on social media too much either. And I still get myself sucked in, but at least I get sucked in with like stupid stuff though, which is fine. Like I'll just like be watching like silly videos.
Sure. And I think there's like a degree of which like, like it is fine. Like it's part of our culture.
But it's like a monster because you watch one political video or something, and then all of a sudden I'm more like a YouTube person than anything else.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden your whole YouTube is like all this political stuff. And I'm like, where did my Neil Young go? Or whatever.
Need to tweak the algorithm. Yeah. And we forget that these, especially in social media, these algorithms are meant to be addictive. Similar to how fast food or like McDonald's with like the salt, sugar, fat, meant to be addictive, meant to hit your pleasure centers. And I think, and that's just it, very similar to the Star Trek Next Generation episode, meant to hit the pleasure centers. Its intention is that. And I think it's important to realize that. And it's like, listen, it's like, I don't win this game every day. Like,
no, none of us do. It's just like whatever we were talking about, the phones. Yes, it's the same problem.
It's very hard. Yes, right? 110%.
It's like, why are you going to watch that video?
Yes, but I think it's worthy.
It with older people. Go.
Yes. Oh, no. You're 100% right. I was just going to say it's worthy of the discussion. I think it's worthy of the analysis. And again, in the song, I'm not necessarily trying to solve anything, but it's really just trying to sink my teeth and grapple with this is an active thing. This is an active thing that's happening, the way we're utilizing these mediums, and look at how it's pulling us apart.
Pulling us in and pulling us into it.
Yeah, sucking us into it and pulling us apart as people.
Yeah, and I know people that won't even talk to their parents because of political differences and shit. Like, it gets crazy.
Yeah,
too.
It does.
And
but I think it's like I sometimes, like, you watch archival footage or documentary or anything, and from even something like, let's just say 20 years ago or less, or like, and you're just like, oh, well, that was quaint. You know, that was a time where we could still respect each other for differences. And again, that's a whole other conversation too, right? Because I think that conversation too is like incredibly nuanced. Because I think just things have become so polarized. It's like really hard to like accept people for their differences these days, because James Baldwin has a great quote when he's like, he says something like, when your opinion infringes on my right to live, like, yeah, like I don't agree with you. It's something along those lines.
Right.
And it's like, you know, and there's a lot of that right now without, you know, getting too deep into the weeds. But yeah, I think TV Tyranny was really me acknowledging television as this, you know, all-encompassing and invasive medium. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, you know, you might not watch TV all the time, but you have a TV in your house. You know, I think like
and I still watch it. Like
100%.
It's like taking pictures at the concert. Like I watch TV every day.
It's amazing. I think that if we think about the fixtures that are in our homes, or, you know, just the things that are around, and when we don't go like, whoa, that's crazy. Like there's a TV here. Like, of course, we're not saying that because, you know, television has been in homes since like the 50s and 60s or what have you. Right. But it's like, its presence has become so normalized. I think we've forgotten like the at times detrimental effects it can have on us when we are not aware, when we're not self-aware, you know? And yeah, I think that's still like, I just think about that stuff like a lot. And it bothered me to the point where I felt the need to talk about it in a song.
Nice. Yeah. And I like what you said about I think of these different, you know, areas of songwriting as like threads that you're opening up, right?
Yeah.
And you can reply like in Slack or whatever, you know? So like, it's like you can reply to this in another song in the future now that you've opened that thread.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing too, I think, and that's why it's called like a record. You know, it's a record of my time. You know, it's or the things that I'm talking about or thinking about or, right, you know, in this moment. And because it's autobiographical and I'm the writer of it, you know, yeah, anything after this point, you know, will probably connect to it in some way, just like in a way like Smoke and the Furniture kind of connects to Line Drive and the fact that they're both meditation songs, you know, or something like that, you know? But ultimately, I'm really proud of these 9 songs. I really enjoyed writing them and recording them, and it was a really true, you know, labor of love. I'm excited for them to get out into the world and get their due, and I'm excited for people to hear them, and I hope that they like them. And I'm excited for whatever the next release is too. You know, I think being a DIY artist, you know, the process of doing everything that I've done, it is all encompassing, and it's very difficult to do this and write new songs. I definitely have new things like cooking. Like, again, I told you I was going through some voice notes today, and there was like some melodies that I had like recorded. And I was like, oh yeah, like I forgot that I came up with that. Like what's that about? You know? And it's at this point in time, because I've been so focused on this record and this release, and also too the release I had with Max earlier this summer. You know, I have not really been writing this year, and so I am really eager to once this is out and, you know, the press is done, I think to just kind of like sit and be alone for a while and come up with more stuff. But it's been wonderful and validating to give these songs life. And I'm so glad that, you know, you've enjoyed them. And
they're great.
And I hope that other people do too. And and then we'll see what's to come after that point.
Yeah, and we will see.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a great. I feel like this is a good ending point.
Yeah, 100%.
You did it, Ro. You did a marathon with me tonight.
You did it too, Rich. Thank you so much.
Level.
Thank you for guiding us, Harrison Beath, wherever you are. we record these long podcasts, thinking of you and your long podcast.
Yeah. And I'll leave you with this, both Roe and listeners, because this quote has been floating around in my head during this conversation. I don't know where podcasts or songwriting lie in this metaphor, and perhaps I'll think about it. I've been thinking about writing a song with this metaphor, right? But there's this Jerry Garcia quote where he says, I don't know if you've heard it before. He says, performing live is like steering a rowboat through the ocean, and recording in a studio is like building a ship in a bottle.
I've never heard that, but I love that.
Yeah, me too. And,
It's great.
I don't know what, podcasting or songwriting, how they fall into that, as you transition into your songwriting phase. But you can think about that as you
certainly
ride the bus.
No, I love that quote. Text me that quote too, so I see it if you have a chance. I'd love to see that written out.
Where he said it too.
Yeah.
Where he actually said it.
Very cool.
Yeah, I will.
Very cool.
Yeah. And thanks for listening to all you listeners out there, or watching to all you watchers out there. Yeah, good peace.
Peace sign for those on video.
I wish we had like our own New Jersey peace sign. It might be the middle finger.
Maybe.
Sure.
I think that might be the New Jersey peace sign.
Deal with it.
That's right. Sunglasses.
Yeah. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, y'all.